What's up, man?
Is it, what's it going? Fucking too fucking late. Alright, get in you fucking pricks, get in the telly, get in the fuck, who we got then? Get in the fucking telly, if I got a fucking show for you. Right, I want to fucking see me boner and me Joss. Right?
Yeah, Joss actually just messaged me. He should be popping in here anytime. Joss, if you're in here, sound off.
You fucking, Joss, right? You fucking tag Lorraine Kelly right now. Tag Lorraine Kelly, all of you. I want to see 5 people tagging Lorraine Kelly right now. Now! Tag Lorraine Kelly Smith right now. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it until I see Lorraine. I'm going to fucking do it. I'm going to fucking do it. Hey, I can't do it. Lorraine Kelly Smith. If Sonny don't fucking tag Lorraine Kelly Smith right now, I'm fucking not doing it.
Someone get on it. We'll sit here all day.
Sit here, I'll fuck. At Lorraine Kelly Smith. Right. Right, blow up a fucking phone. Right, blow it up. I want to see 3. Lorraine Kelly Smith, 3. That's it. Right. Now you're getting it. Right. Right. Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
Someone go message him.
Okay. I've got to come back in the That's. Right. Lorraine. I know it's blowing up. I know your fucking phone's blowing up, right? I'm a fucking big dude. How's it bet, right? Me and you do the brekkie club, right? The fucking brekkie show tomorrow, right? After I stay over. And then your boyfriend can make me my fucking back necks in the fucking 8:30, 15-minute kitchen slot, right? But then, if I don't fucking like it, I'm gonna spark the cunt out in the fucking 8:30 a.m. Right? You think about it. And that's for the rest of you. That's it, right? That now it's fucking get in the fucking telly that I'm on the telly now. I'm on the telly. No, and it's fucking had a fucking dram, mate. How dare you?
Oh shit.
No need for subtitles. Yeah, like I've got pretty good at sort of Southern English since I was a child, so I can communicate better. So yeah, like I might just need to just quickly readjust some things on this. Has Lorraine actually got in yet? I'm waiting for her. She can. In fact, Lorraine, if you're watching this, you can just send me a DM later and we can chat then. That'll be fine. Right, let me just fucking. Oh, there's Bono. There's Bono. See, yeah, I couldn't do this without Bono Stobart. I'm so glad he's here. Oh, that's sweet. That's really sweet. Anyway, I just need. Oh, there's Steve. That's awesome to see.
Hell yeah.
I just need to actually go out and then come back in because when I tried to tag Lorraine, it won't let me go out of the keyboard. So I'll be back in like 10 seconds. I'm just going to re-invite myself.
All right, I'll be here. What's going on, everybody? Dylan, be right back. Don't worry. Don't leave. How's everybody doing this weekend, huh? Check out the new guitar. And yeah, it does a hell of a lot more than just Doom. Oh, there's Dylan back. Instagram will let him back in. Oh, come on.
Is that working?
There we go. It's
I will say disclaimer. If Lorraine does message me, I'm going to have to go because I want to speak to all you guys, but I need to speak to Lorraine as well about some things. So yeah, I don't think she will. She's probably busy and like she'll probably DM me later, like after 9 a.m. like 9 p.m. like sort of. So, but yeah, if I have any technical issues, we see like probably do that.
all right.
But anyway, right. Well,
We all good?
what do you want to know? Yeah.
Well, man, first off, thanks for coming on here. You have been very highly requested. First off,
That's their first mistake.
but I'd say as far as the guitar build game right now, as far as independent builders, you're kind of sitting atop a throne right now, as far as really any of the like one man or small operation custom shops right now. I don't think anybody quite has the rep or the what's the word I'm looking for, the gallery of awesome
Well, I get told
awesome builds. Quite.
I get told that. I can talk.
What's up? Hang on. Kind of cutting out there.
Shit, the technology is awful. I don't know if you can still see me or hear me.
Now I can.
Ryan's frozen. Yeah, you're still loading. We'll just chill out for a minute anyway and let join into the convo and like let them all add themselves and stuff and stuff like this. It should be. It's irritating though. It's like you're frozen, but it's okay. Can I hear you talk? If you talk, hear you clearly.
What is it?
I can hear your voice, so it's fine. You're frozen on the screen, but it's
Oh, okay. Sick.
yeah. Yeah, I've heard that for most of my career in this, but it's a strange thing for me because it's impossible to really see yourself. You can't really see yourself,
Of course.
from the inside. I do know I'm very different, and I do know that there's a strain in me of this artistic ability which isn't common in any area of society, really, let alone guitar making, lutherie. I mean, it's amazing working lutherie, but I don't think there's that much equivalence between me and them. I'd say that's the big difference. But yeah, like it's nice to hear. I don't really listen to it that much. I just sort of my mission really. But anyway, yeah.
Well, that's kind of the nature of us musicians, I think. A lot of the normal ones that we try to stay humble. We try not to, like I said, I think most people try not to feed that ego monster. That's where you get like the whole rock star mentality bullshit anyway.
I mean, it's quite easy to see when someone's doing something to satisfy their own ego and when someone's doing something for a deeper meaning, or like a deeper, it's like almost creative responsibility they have. I mean, I've met probably thousands of metalheads in the past because I've been into metal since about 12. And like the one thing I really like about metal is it's like the vast quantity of the people are just sort of hard working, and try to like go and support their scene and make it happen.
you know, it's not really like an ego-fueled music scene. Now, I an example is, so I'm really into like UK grime. I love grimeys and sort of American hip hop as well, and lots of Jamaican music. And that's almost like a sort of it's a massive thing to like be really egotistical about yourself and as a performer and as an entity. But in metal, it's more about sort of hard work. Like metal's so complicated to make and record. It's technically complicated and in vision.
Had you cut out.
It involves a lot of hard work to make the metal scene happen. Like, and the majority of metalheads are ready to put in that hard work, either going to shows, supporting their bands that they like, and then the actual musicians, crews, and stuff like that. They like. I know obviously lots of people work hard in live music, but I think metal's especially driven because it's underground. It hasn't got this massive amount of like, it hasn't got this huge economy and this huge like massive amounts of cash behind it because it doesn't play by mainstream society sort of value system and rules. So it sort of gets left out in the cold a bit like that. It's sort of like get outside if we're not happy with you. But then it just makes things tougher. But that just toughens up metalheads and makes them more driven and more, it's more driven to actually complete their visionary or like creative goals and tasks. You can still hear me, okay?
Yeah, I can hear you.
You've frozen. I'm gonna have to come back in because it's actually quite hard to talk to you when your face is frozen because I can't get any visual prompts off from your side of the conversation. So I'll try this again. I'll just try coming back into the convo.
Okay, that's cool. I think this show is becoming more famous for technical difficulties than our actual guests or me or anything. Oh well, we'll do it live, right? All right. If anybody has any questions for me or Dylan, please feel free to submit them down below. This is very cursed. I am cursed. Okay. Well, hey, there you are.
That works. What I find
a little
surprising
spotty.
is
I think it's
this technology is like about 12 years old now, and it's like Skype and VidChat have been around for so long, and they still don't really work properly. They just can't work out why that's possible after 12 years to work better. But this is like my cousin is bad in the studio, but it's just how all the guitar stuff is. But like you see, it seems to be working now. If like I can see you and you're working, if it just like, but yeah, okay. But yeah, actually go back to that question. Essentially like what I said, like metalheads seem to have to work harder to make their scene go forward than other people, or classically have to work harder, and that is shit. That is due to the underground nature of it and the contrary nature of the intellectual capacity within the actual music itself, if that makes sense. Like that like I've always been like an against person, if that makes sense. Like, do you know what I mean by that? Like I'm like sort of ever since I was against. If I came up against a system or something like that, I never really like. Do you know what I mean? I just sort of always pushed back against. I didn't agree with a lot of stuff. And like,
not in a negative way, not in a negative way or anything, but basically sort of a contrarian, and for lack of a better word, would you say like just very against the grain? Oh, the internet.
Because my message flagged. flash up from that the Wi-Fi isn't that good in my room. I think sometimes I've gone out into the foyer of the building I work in. It might just work a lot better. Welcome to the jungle. Okay, is that any better?
Yeah.
You can hear me okay?
Are you there?
All right. Yeah, let's just try it from here.
All right.
But yeah, I like this. I think I'm a name. Yeah, like quite a lot of how I am and sort of what I think and how I sort of approach things, especially with Daemoness. It does go back a long way in my life, and especially like when I talk about like being against. But maybe we'll go into that later on if you guys want to talk about like what I did when I was younger and how that formed who I was and how who I was formed what Daemoness is. But yeah, maybe that's like a bit too deep for now for this first bit of it. But like, yeah, ask me a question. I don't know.
Well, somebody asked in the chat there a little bit earlier already, was asking about what's it like working with Kyle with, over the couple of Vitriol guitars and your all's friendship. There's tons and tons of Vitriol followers, and at this point, you guys are almost synonymous.
Let me just go get Kyle's new axe, and I'll give you guys a fucking grand tour, like close and personal, with the like proper full Vitriol custom. 2 seconds.
Sure. If anybody else has any more questions, there's actually a question feature down at the bottom of the chat. If you want to go ahead and submit those, we'll get to them here shortly. In the meantime, here's Kyle's new custom.
I haven't has gone involved. Has she got anything? Any comments going? Lorraine said anything? Okay, I'll just have to wait that one out. But anyway, she will do. Yeah, like, well, I mean, what can you say about? Like, I've known Kyle for about 6 years. Let's just get this down. Yeah, I've known Kyle for about 6 years. So I sort of recognised him just from sort of comments. I think he DM'd me a few times about stuff to do with guitars. He was just like a Daemoness fan. And I think the sort of first year I recognised, just recognised him. I knew he was a metal guitarist, but I never heard him play. And
damn it.
Maybe early 2016, and late 2015. And so we was chatting for about an hour and stuff. And then he started playing his guitar. And within 30 seconds, I was like, you're one of the best death metal guitarists in the world. Like, I was just like, you're one of the best death metal guitarists in the world. Like, you're not even good at death metal. You're fucking insane. Like, you are just got it. Like, I hadn't heard that much energy. And like, I was still coming off the back of that sort of lull that death metal had. The sort of like post-necrophagist lull when no one could really fucking know what to do about how to make an album as good as Epitaph.
Right.
Sort of like about 2000, 2013. I mean, there was cool death albums coming out. There was lots of cool extreme metal albums coming out. But I was sort of missing something really savage going on. I think a lot of people feel the same way. And like, but yeah, when I first heard him, fucking absolutely insane. It's like, and then we started talking about obviously working together on something. But obviously with all the work I was doing at the time, it didn't actually happen. I had to make him a guitar until sort of like early 2019. Just so busy with other projects and things. But yeah, I mean, Kyle's again, he's a very intelligent man. He's an incredible, like, musician, not just guitar player. Like his songwriting ability, he can write death metal that's like real, like mythological journeys in the songs. And not, he doesn't write word salad. I mean, like riff salad. like metal songs. What it's about. He's like, but when you look at his background, like his dad was like a studio, worked in like recording studios with like big names like American rock and country music in the 70s and 80s, and like you can tell he just got this sort of like or by osmosis, just he was just around a lot of songwriting and sort of like, and you know, so he knows how to go about like how to write rock and roll the correct way. He doesn't just like get loads of little bits, bung them all together and go voila, there's your fucking song. Other things about him: amazing live performer. Yeah, just he's an inspirational death metal guitarist. I'll tell you guys something straight that I believe, and I think a lot of you believe well, and it's now so obvious that whether he hears, he's heard it a bunch of times, whether he hears it or not isn't really going to affect him, because death metal just seems to just come out of him. But like, yeah, he's the best death metal guitarist in the world right now. There's no one better than him, because he does all of it. He doesn't just do one thing so well, he does all of it fucking amazingly. You know, really inspired songwriting. He writes fucking amazing riffs. His vocals and lyrics are absolutely excellent. You can even read his lyrics and they just read like really good poetry. Explosive live performance. Knows his technical, it has a very highly technical approach to electric guitar, playing metal on it. Understands his equipment. Like, if the guy was a death metal trump card, like top trumps card, like 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10. Apart from like some of his bad attitude. But like, but yeah, no, like you can't, like that's just where he's at. That's just where he's at. I mean, like for me, like Victim's my favorite death metal song of this century so far. And that's like my best friend's band. It's an incredible privilege to even know him, you know. That song's an absolute masterpiece in metal. I think a lot of metal bands and a lot of people and metal fans maybe sort of like forgot that extreme metal can be that good. And because it can be even better than that. But yeah, like I'm very proud of him. I'm really excited about what he's going to be doing next. I'm very honoured and privileged to be deeply, deeply involved with what he's doing next, not just in making the guitars, but in actual other elements of the album as well. Because like he's made a couple of references on his social media about recording, like, you know, writing stuff for his second album. I'm not going to say anything more about that, but I'll leave that to him to talk about.
Right.
But yeah, so I'll tell you that what a complete like intellectual extreme metal entity Kyle actually is. Like he actually designed this guitar. Like he drew the silhouette of it. You know, I made it real. Like he just drew it like it was just a silhouette, and I had to change bits and rebalance it. I did all this sort of strange 3D. I'm going to see if I can turn this down so I can get a bit further away from the camera, so you can see me a bit better. But like, yeah, like so. I mean, he sent me this silhouette, and then I had to make it into a 3D functioning guitar. So I had to, but like, and you know, so it's got this. There's all sorts of things, like everything about it has been thought through. You know, 28 frets with the full access. It's got, this is a new thing that I'm doing on loads of the good builds where the top body horn is about as thin as an old black machine. And it makes the center of gravity relate to where the strap band's placed a lot more. You don't get that sort of, you know, when you get guitars and they lean away from you, if they've got a back mounted strap. Yeah. They sort of lean away. You don't get that so much, so you can sort of look down and you can get into your playing immediately. It's got a Carina body. Like I've made so many guitars that have out Carina that have sounded so amazing now that I'm basically just like I'd pretty much say it's the best choice for tone wood for a metal.
What do you like specifically about it?
It's just got like if you're playing, like it basically holds the clarity of your riffing if you're playing fast. You don't get this like if your technique's good, you're playing fast and you've got a nice pickup signal. You don't get sort of this muddiness. You can really, it's really clear without sounding brittle. And it's got this sort of like I'm always about like distance in guitar sound, like in guitar tone. Like I want things to sound deep, far away with lots of overtones and sort of richness. Not to the point where it sounds like a zingy old Strat. you know, where it's just all overtones and ringing stuff. But yeah, like, I mean, it just sounds really, really fucking serious. Yeah, I love it. I've never made a Karina guitar that I wasn't completely satisfied with tonally. But then also, it's like this guitar's weird because it's got a like huge one like bloodwood top. It's got a solid bloodwood neck. It's got like bloodwood fingerboard. So like bloodwood shrinks a lot. So when they fell it, you'll get lots in it. And like, so you can buy bloodwood, but if you go looking for it online or on eBay or something, you find most of the bits are about that big. They're for like making pen blanks and knife handles and stuff like that. It splits so much. But my wood supplier, who I've been like working with for like 15 years, they got this huge plank of it that just happened to be this piece. It just didn't split. It was like, it's a huge, I think I put a photo up of it. So this huge billet that didn't split. And yeah, like about a year ago, I was saying, if you've got bloodwood, have you got anything? And they're saying, look, we haven't really got anything apart from this huge piece. And they told me about it. And like, this thing weighed about 45 kilos. You know, this is a huge piece of timber. Like, big time. He said, yeah, I'll have that. It was a bit like that scene in Terminator. Oh, it's a 15-day wait on the handguns. You know what I mean? I just said, send it over. And like, so I've got, this won't be the last bloodwood guitar that like Kyle uses. But yeah, like this guitar is unique. Just because of the sheer size and quality of the blood pieces it's made out of. Like, and tonally, I mean, we like the trem bolts go through the bloodwood before they go into the Karina. Like, there's going to be like vibrational translation between the actual trem and into the bloodwood itself. I'm sure this guitar's going to sound absolutely awesome. But yeah, there was this piece of bloodwood is so huge that we even had the option to make the entire guitar bloodwood, but it would about as much as a blue whale encased in lead, and it would have sounded really muddy. Like when guitars are too heavy and dense, they end up sounding like really muddy and just too bassy, and it's just like nah. So I think we made the right decision. But I'm really excited about this guitar and what Carl's going to do with it. It's got like, that's other sort of stuff I'm doing recently, is like bigger tremolo, like block routes. Have you noticed that tremolo blocks are getting bigger?
Yeah, I have.
And that's great. And like big tremolo blocks, I can hear the difference. They really do. They like.
Well, it's more vast, more sustained.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, they're great. So like, you know, making everything with a slightly bigger trem block, but like with that, you should be able to pull up till you break the strings, or dump until they're just flapping around. And like, yeah, it's got like cool features. So bloodwood goes blonde on the edge. So like, basically, when I select a neck, we cut the edge.
Okay.
So like the binding sort of turns like actually the rest of the wood, if you can see that.
Yeah.
So that's like a weird, unique feature that no other guitars I've ever seen's got. Like, obviously, you can see it when the scarf joint happens, but like, so the neck's it's turning into the blonde wood on the edge, and then the binding is made out of that up from the timber. But yeah, and it's going to have like, that's going to be like gold leaf.
Nice.
But yeah, it's called it's always been called the Berserker, but we're just going to go with Zerker now. Daemoness Zerker.
I like it. I dig it.
Yeah.
There is like very vague, remnants of like homages to other designs that I know Kyle's a fan of, but it's wholly unique though.
It's weird. It's like it's got this warriorness to it, because if you hold it like that, it sort of looks a bit like one. But then,
right.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah, it's got like. But then again, like, and then the back. I got like that's like my signature heel carve now. That when you see that shape,
It's so
where this
cool.
side is, and like I've been doing this on Sumerians now. But yeah, so with the way I approach guitars and like guitar designing, first of all, I say like one thing that might surprise people. This guitar I mean, I've got a defined sanding on it, but this is ready to go to the lacquerers. And there's no blueprints, there's no experimentation, there's no research, there's no nothing. Like, I've got to the stage, well, I've been at the stage for about a decade, like, a whole guitar in my head. And then I make it first time, and it's to go. There's about me, which are related to my artwork and drawing, which I talk about sometimes with people, and I sort of think, I mean, stop me if I'm wrong, but like, my brain's not quite set up like other people when it comes to drawing and examining structures. So I can take a structure and move it around in my mind's eye and change bits and change the lighting and do all this sorts of stuff, like someone doing it on a design computer, but it's just in my mind's eye. So that's something I developed for my drawing, but I can't even remember not having that, because I've been drawing since I was like 3 or 4 years old. It's something about my phenotype. It's you know, it's just this thing, and now I use it for guitar designing. So like, yeah, I know this guitar is all going to work exactly how I want it, and it's going to balance nicely, and the access is going to be great, and all the, you know, this like, yeah, I just know it's going to play great, but like all the actual design is all in there. It's not planned. No, the drawing exists a bit outside of Kyle's thumbnail he drew on like a cereal box.
That's awesome.
So like, yeah, that's one of the reasons I'm sort of changing Daemoness as well, because I had a lot of time to think over lockdowns and all the sort of bullshit we've all had to go through over the past sort of 18 months and things like that. And I don't actually get a chance to innovate enough in Daemoness. I don't know, have I frozen again?
You're frozen, but I can hear you.
Okay. I don't...
Well, hang on. It's coming back around. There you go. All right.
Like, he talks about this, like Vangelis talks about this thing called the success trap, and it's basically like whatever you're first seen doing well, people want you to do forever.
Oh wow!
So
yeah,
I spent a lot of my time with guitars that I designed 13 years instead of designing new guitars and making them. It's like it can hold you back a lot of the time. And like always like to keep developing, moving. So like I want to get into like more actual like guitar designing. Like I'm completely confident that I'm the best heavy metal guitar designer in the world. I can't think of anyone that I wouldn't, if I had to just like put my skills against theirs, that they wouldn't just get chewed up by it. Like that's how confident I am in my ability to design guitars. But like I don't get that opportunity that much, you know. I love, like, my favorite guitar is the Sumerian that I've like sort of designed. Although, you know, it's a Strat-shaped guitar, it's still like there is a lot of my personal design in the Sumerian.
I've seen you talk about some of the specific details, like on a post in reference to the Sumerian. You were just talking about a little deep.
I'll get in a bit, and then I'll go over some of the things on that that make it different. But like, I mean, I don't ideally want to be spending 80% of my time making one type of guitar when I'm at the stage where I can just design all sorts of wild guitars in my head and make them straight off first time. It seems a bit wasted. So like, yeah, I want to do more sort of like design theory work in metal guitars, and I'd even hire myself out as a guitar designer to bigger brands. I think I'd like to do that.
That'd actually be really, really cool.
I would be.
Who would be a brand that you would like to work with? Like, name a couple.
Well, I'd like to fucking, I don't know. That's a tricky one, though. That's a tricky one. I mean, because I've lost faith in a lot of the brands. Because they're not like, I mean, like.
You mean you don't want to make abalone? You don't want to make abalone warlocks for PC Rich?
In 1994, like Ibanez were, you know, the RG is one of the best things that ever happened to metal. It's one of the most versatile and perfect modern rock guitars. Like literally, if you had an RG when you're in the 90s, it was all you did. I had an RG7620 from about 1998 till about, and then I sold it in like 2008. Absolutely brilliant. So sick. I mean, like, when I was at like college in 1996, when we saw, that was the first death metal song I ever saw was Where the Slime Lives. Where the Slime Live. I can't, back then we thought it was called Where the Slime Lives, which I think is a cooler name. But like, when I saw Trey playing the UV7, the black and green one, it was like the coolest thing I'd ever seen in my life.
Oh yeah, and him hitting those like crazy arpeggios and
yeah. Just, I mean, let alone the music he's writing, but the actual object of the guitar was the coolest guitar I'd ever seen. But I think like I became sort of disinterested in Ibanez in the sort of 2000s. It just seemed to be moving away from that. I don't know, or maybe Ibanez is way bigger, and I was just only interested in their like black and green metal machine guitars. I don't know. But yeah, like that was. I mean, like the Sumerian is obviously the biggest inspiration on it is the RG. It's like that's quite clear. It's almost like a slightly more elegant looking, conditioned, and sort of like steroided RG. That's like all the Sumerian really is. But it's got other elements of you know, other types of guitars. But I've said before. I said like 10 years ago, like Daemoness is like the best. It's like the best bits of all the decent metal guitars from the past 50 years of metal history, just put in one place, and then sort of conditioned through my own what we call like aesthetic or design training. Because yeah, like I'm a very artistic family, and there's lots of designers and sort of like craftspeople in my family. So ever since I was really young, I've always been into like the problem solving of design and very, very practical. Always trying to understand new tools, new materials, things like that. I'm like, I fuck around a lot, like doing stuff like trying to get Lorraine Kelly to message me. I do all sorts of funny things because if I just put across how serious I actually was as a craftsman and designer, I'd be too dry because I'm that serious about it, you know. I can't tell if you're there or not.
Well,
again because.
Oh yeah, sorry, I was just listening.
Right, that's good. This could even be because I'm like seriously. I'm not. When I talk about how like fucked Instagram is, like the day after I got the warnings about my Instagram story,
you're cutting out again.
Stopped working properly. All sorts of things started to go wrong with it.
Right.
Weird. Am I cut out? This.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? As long as I can hear you, it's okay. But anyway.
I'll eventually upgrade and do this all through PC. But
I think next time we do this, I'm going to do it through some sort of like more stable platform, yeah. But I mean, like Ibanez, yeah, I always have a really good respect. Like also, like the Japanese don't make bad guitars. It's not in their culture to make quality craft. It's just not. They just don't do it. If you look into the history of their culture and like especially their craftspeople, that's completely understandable why. But yeah, like I would design guitars for big brands. I like, you know, I definitely like to design guitars for BC Rich. Jackson was my favorite brand when I was a teenager. But I think like Jackson isn't really hard enough for me these days. But then what is, I don't know. It's funny, like there was one event which sort of like snuffed Jackson out for me. And that was when I saw a promo video where they were getting really excited about making a guitar for Tom Cruise to use in a shitty film where he plays like some sort of rock star, and they were just getting gassed up that they could make a guitar for like Tom Cruise to put on a wig and essentially take the piss out of like rock musicians with. And like if Tom Cruise like approached me and said I want a guitar, I'd just be like, well, you're a Scientologist who eats children, so you can't have anything. Then I mock him for just all the fucking weird shit he does. and then I'd like to like mildly assail him, and like that's how I deal with that. And I sort of it just like seeing them just really gassed up about that. That's sort of like, it's sort of weird. It's just one thing. It's like Jack said, isn't the thing I thought it was a kid. It's just a big American guitar brand that's out to make money, do stuff with celebrities and promo and shit. And I just didn't give a fuck. But like, you know, my favorite brand has been Daemoness pretty much since the beginning. You know, I don't really go thinking about, you know, or like putting other brands up on a pedestal because Daemoness is like, I'm trying to make my own ultimate brand. But then, but yeah, but I would design, if I hadn't blown it already, just by basically pissing all over them, I would design, I definitely like, the one brand, like, BC Rich is a different thing. Like, BC Rich is I think it's the coolest of the big brands when it comes to actually producing metal guitars. But they had a problem with, obviously, between 2000, or sort of 1998, 2000, and sort of 2010 or more, I don't know, the quality when they went to China was just so bad. I mean, like, I remember setting up a BC Rich body art series guitar in about 2008.
Mm-hmm.
And I just setting the thing up, I was like, this is one of the worst guitars I've ever seen in my life. Just dog shit. And like, yeah, like, you know, but like, that was just because like they made some poor decisions as to who was going to be making their guitars. They tried to put a hell of a lot of really cheap guitars, and they sort of like, I see Bono's, yeah, Lorraine. Get Lorraine in. In fact, no, I'm going to leave. I'm going to call Lorraine later. But like, yeah, they're like the coolest. They were definitely the coolest, BC Rich. I would design for them. I'd like to do that. Because, you know, I've realized, I mean, I've got this problem with Daemoness, right? You call it Demon, like the problem I've got with it. So, I'll go get the Antichrist feet, won't I?
Okay. Let me see. All right, we got 4 questions. I won't forget you guys. I see your questions.
So that's the first Daemoness. This one. And the reason I've got it is because Paul Crooks, is a friend of mine who actually owns this guitar, has actually lent it to Kyle on long-term loan. But we made that decision, and then COVID hit. And this guitar is so precious, we don't really trust it in the mail system. And so I have to sort of wait till I see Kyle again next year to actually give it to him. But yeah, like Kyle's going to be using the Antichrist V for Vitriol. But yeah, this is the first guitar I made, and like, it is still one of the best guitars I've made. Like, this guitar is fucking insane. It's got such a esoteric and unique depth to it. Sometimes I get fucked off when I make a guitar that doesn't quite sound as good as this. I'm like, the first guitar I made sound better than this. Like, but yeah, like ever since I mean, this guitar was in Total Guitar magazine. Now, I think the only reason it was in there was because that publishing company was in town near to Bristol. They knew about our workshop and stuff like that, and they saw it. And it's an exciting looking guitar, and it's got like a devil's bum on it and stuff like that. You know, so like they were excited about it. Pretty much ever since this guitar came out, I've been under pressure from other people to expand Daemoness. And that's naturally, like whenever anyone sees stuff that they like and they want more of, they go, oh, expand it. You know, it's a standard capitalist model, expand it. And I think sort of like between 2011 and 2019, I was always continually trying to expand it, but I've come to the conclusion I just can't do that. And there's quite complicated reasons as to why. I mean, but it goes back, like, I think a lot of people outside of England or Britain don't understand, but the British economy is not, and like, it's not really set up for businesses like me. Like, it doesn't, we don't do manufacturing anymore. Like, Margaret Thatcher in the early 80s, like, decided, she made like quite famous statement about the, like, we're going, like, I don't know the specific thing she said, but like, she essentially She said, we're going over to an entirely a service industry. Our economy is going to be a series of service industries. So we got rid of all the British car manufacturers. We got rid of like British heavy industry. We got rid of coal mining. We got rid of anything to do with making stuff, and like or like or just like heavy, and then also we sort of like cut back massively on our craft industries as well. And it now seems, when you actually look at it, it's very naive to think there's a connection between being able to expand a business like this, because the economy seems to just make it so fucking difficult to do it. But also, like, because I'm a metaler, I'm contradictory to mainstream society. So when I moved into this workshop 10 years ago, I tried to borrow some money to buy some tools and stuff like this. And I didn't want to borrow very much money. I wanted to only borrow like £10,000. Not very much money for like a small business loan. And I remember I went into the bank to ask about it, and I had like orders and stuff like this. I had like, I had like top work on order. I could prove the business was good to go and stuff like that. And like, the lady looked at me like, why are you asking for a bank loan when you've got long hair? You know what I mean? It's like, and like,
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's just like, so it's like everything's they're against me and I'm against them. Like I don't like my society. Like I'm not happy with it. I think it sucks. I think, and the reason I say that is because I don't want to say it sucks like a dipshit. It sucks. It's not that. That's the term I use. The reason it sucks is because it doesn't deliver on human potential. It doesn't do that. It's a mediocre society. And yeah, it just, and like, in all sorts of areas, it completely fails the communities that make it up. Yeah, like England's really shit. When I was 18, I thought it was a great place, a great country, and stuff like that. 20 years of this shit. I actually, if I was in command, I'd pretty much rip it down and start again. It's that fucked.
And
so, like,
just from a worst case scenario perspective, you would almost think an entirely service-based country, like you're completely dependent on your supply chain. The past year has been the absolute worst case scenario for that. And I just can't see how that wouldn't be absolutely crippling. Like when all supply chains are held up worldwide, I mean, I don't know. That seems very nearsighted. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like, there's other issues. It's like I don't want to sound arrogant with this, but I can't find staff or people to work with me that I can actually delegate tasks to with any degree of confidence. To put it really simply, anyone who's good enough to work with me has got their own thing going on, and anyone who hasn't got their own thing going on isn't good enough to work with me. So I've got.
Yep.
Conclusion 2019 that I'm going to sort of, I'd rather sort of intellectually and do more artwork and stuff like that, and do more guitars that I've designed personally, instead of just accepting a commission or sort of a bit, and basically be more creative with it, and do more stuff, more work that's sort of scalable. But yeah, so things haven't gone well as I'd liked, but the thing that has gone well is sort of inspiring people and creating absolutely insanely sick guitars, and working with people like Kyle, working with people like Archeon, working with people like Yari, and then just like the hundreds of people I've just like made their dream custom come true for. That's like massively satisfying as well. But I need to, like, the experiment whereby I go into work on Monday morning and it's like there's 5 people there and they're all Daemoness employees and stuff like that, and what are we doing, and we're making this, and this is going great, and can you check that? And that just doesn't work. It just doesn't, like, this country I live in can't supply that. It can't do it. It's not, I tried, I can't do it. This is going to sound harsh, but I'd say to anyone who's reading this, who's got like a small business or is thinking of expanding, do you remember like those letters you used to get from the government which said investor in people at the top? Investor in people. And how in people are your strongest part of your business, and your business is just the people and stuff like that. Fucking absolute bollocks. Let me tell you something fucking free. No one is going to give a flying fuck about your business apart from you. No one. Turn up, get paid, go home. They haven't got something that's like objective for them to invest real passion in. They're either going to not bother or they're going to go and do that with their own thing. I've given up on it. But that's just me. I haven't given up on anything else. Like, I've got even more belief in myself now. I've freed myself from the ineptitude and mediocrity of having to work with other people in that capacity. So yeah, I just want to sort of like, and also I think a lot of people who like Daemoness so far will probably like the next stage of Daemoness more, because Daemoness is actually pretty soft compared to how hardcore my actual artistic vision for the guitars is. Like, you know, I'm just making really hardcore versions of, like, you know, electric guitar commissions and stuff like that. Yeah, like, my actual, like, when it's everything's coming from me. I mean, like, I'm still working out how I want to develop it, but I definitely, like, again, as a lot of you know, I haven't been taking any new orders since about the beginning of 2020, just COVID hit. And I'm not going to be, like, I'm going to work, I'll be doing custom work in the future, but like, yeah, like, put it this way, I can make guitars classically, if you know what I mean. I can make guitars without even really thinking about it. I find it really relaxing making guitars and stuff like that. I can make non-custom commissions a lot more efficiently than I can make very complicated, all of them different custom guitars. I'm still trying to work it out, but I think the ideal way for me to work would be to produce small batches of guitars where I was dictating what the guitars were. And I know a hell of a lot about metal guitars and what makes them good. And I know a lot of musicians who also know a hell of a lot about metal guitars and what makes them good. So I think that would be much better for everyone. I mean, like, the other thing is this, we've got a problem, is like, all these guitars are so massively different. I don't know how long they're going to take to do. There's no way of predicting how long something's going to take if you've never done it before. So I can't really properly predict how long the waiting list is. I just can't do it, because there's so many guitars that are unknown variable factors in that time. It just becomes a problem. So I think to sort of stop people getting frustrated with that situation, I think the Daemoness should just be a sort of like absolutely savage, off the peg guitar brand, where, like, you know, I'm more experimental, and like, yeah, people can buy stuff and just literally see something for sale, buy it, and then get it sent immediately. Apart from it, instead of having to go through this huge, like, sort of grey area of waiting as I sort of try and juggle all these, like, titanically huge projects. I mean, like, I'm still finishing projects from 2020. It's too much plate spinning. It's like Daemoness like grew too big and complicated in the time, you know, in the sort of late teens and stuff like that. And I'm sort of trying to get it back to the basic, more straightforward version that I had of it between sort of 2008 and 2015, which I think worked much better. So yeah, but like you won't believe how hardcore some of the guitars coming up in Daemoness are. They're more than they were, because I'm unbridled now, and like the true size, like the true like what would you say? Right. Okay. Let me put it like this. But also, basically, Ryan's frozen. So if any of you see that if I freeze as well, just like leave a comment on the thing, and I'll go back on.
Oh, you're good on mine.
Yeah. Okay. Let's what was I going to say for this? Right. You guys all know I'm an artist, but I'm a really complicated artist, and my story is really complicated as an artist. And this might surprise you, right? But I know a lot of you guys really rate me as an artist and think it's amazing. Like, I'm going to tell you something. 80% of my artwork is unreleased. You haven't seen it. 80% of it. And that's because my job and what I do publicly is guitar making, and I incorporate my artwork into my guitar builds. But I've been an artist for 3 times longer than I've been a luthier. I'd almost say that, like, I'm not even a luthier in the way you guys think I am. I am a metalhead in the way you think I am. But like my technical ability in artwork is so huge, and it's literally I don't want to sound like some prick going, oh, I'm amazing at drawing. It's like, it's not that. You know, they say about 10,000 hours, about how you can get really good at something in 10,000 hours. Like, worked out from like that violinist Vanessa May, who like kept a complete diary of everything she ever practiced, and they put out like 10,000 hours. Like when I think about how I've trained myself since I was about 4 years old, it's like, how many 10,000 hours do you want in many different things? Like, I would not dare to calculate how long I've spent. And I came from an isolated rural environment, so like there was nothing to do but 10,000 fucking hours on everything. Like, but yeah, like I'm very. I had a real rough time when I was younger, especially with my artwork. So some people, like, when they first hear me speak, because I'm quite well spoken, they sort of might assume I'm sort of like a bit posh or a bit rich, or like come from a very well-to-do background. Like, I came from like what I call like bohemian poverty. So like my parents are like broke hippies who lived in the middle of nowhere. You know, those sorts of people. They're nice, they're great. I love my parents a bit. But like like my schooling, like I went to one of the shittest state schools you can fucking possibly get. Like the worst. In fact, my brother, who's now like a senior design lecturer, works at like a university in Wales. And his wife is a headmistress. They're like that school, the school we went to, like he went to as well. It's like that school would be condemned now. It would be closed down. It was that bad. Yeah, just awful quality teachers. But funny enough, I'll tell you how shit it was and how poor quality the teachers were. So you see my cousin, like dapper signs. You sometimes see me like joshing around with dapper signs.
Yeah.
Like our form tutor, who's called Paul Coles, recently got out of prison for 7 years for raping 2 girls in our form group. So that's like, you know, Paul Coles, yeah, is a rapist teacher from Great Torrington School in the 90s. You know, that was our form tutor. If I talk about how shit our school was, our form tutor was a rapist. And the rest of the teachers were so fucking weird and spineless, and they were just like, they should never have had any influence on the development of children whatsoever. They were just weirdos who were just running away to this rural part of the country to just get a job, do something. But they like an appalling school, awful. When I went to college, again, like artistically, it was quite clear when I was a child that like I was an incredibly gifted artist. That it was really quite clear that I could draw, design, all sorts of things. I'd instantly get my head around materials, and you know, I could draw distance, I could draw anatomy, all sorts of things. Like, you know, I was like, really, everyone knew it. It was obvious. When I went to college, again, there's another thing, like, there's a specific thing about art teachers. Like, most art teachers are failed artists. That's what most of them are. And like, when I went to college, I just had like a couple of art tutors like try and deconstruct and insert their own failings into my artistic technique. And that was such a confusing time for me. And like, yeah, and just like, I was in a situation where I was much more capable artistically than the people who are teaching me by a long way. It shouldn't happen these days. Like, a child of my artistic ability should never have to go through a regular school system when it comes to developing their creativity. But yeah, like, so I had a shit time. I mean, so bad that our GCSE art teacher, who was a good guy, I really liked him, Pete Rothwell, he's a very nice man, very, very fond of him. But he wasn't a good artist. I remember him telling me that you shouldn't put black in your pictures. It kills the pictures. And like, I couldn't understand that. Because
Makes no
great
sense.
art. Think of Caravaggio, 80% canvas is solid black. And then I saw, I mean, I got rest of soul. You know, Pete Rothwell's dead now. But I saw some of his artwork later in his life, and it was completely anemic. It didn't have any weight to it because it didn't have any black. There was no shadows, no weight to the shadows. And yeah, like he's. It was just an example of how I should never have been. I shouldn't have. Does this make sense?
No, I totally get it.
You know, everything was wrong with me, and like,
right.
And like when it came to like the schooling system went through. So after when I was a kid, I'd been told all along, you're going to be an amazing artist. You're going to be working in art. You're going to be drawing pictures, paintings, going to be illustrating books. So I went to college, and that was sort of problematic. And then and I did a foundation art at North Devon College in 1998, which is basically like a big like art barn sort of thing. And the tutors in there were even more talentless. Like just to the point of which, like you would have had a better time if you just had access to the materials and they left the building. Like they were that bad. I actually think art shouldn't really be taught in schools. I think kids have a much better time these days. I think art teachers should be fired. It's over. Experiment didn't work. And if you're reading this, if you've managed to get on my page and you're not 18 yet, you're better off. Like, don't listen to an art teacher at all. Just fucking shit can the whole lot. You're taking such a risk, even letting them have access to your creative process. If you want to learn, go on YouTube, find your favourite artists who are doing sort of like YouTube stuff like that, and just watch them. And if you can find one where they teach you how to do it, like you can learn from people who can really know what they're talking about. But yeah, it gets worse. It gets worse. So I applied to go to university, and I applied because I wanted to do something with my ability to draw. Also, during this time, I was also doing a lot of sort of woodwork and sort of making stuff like that. I've always been very practical, like that. So, but I was mainly focused on drawing and artwork. And I applied to go to an illustration course at UWE, which is like University of the West of England, and I didn't get in. They just looked at my portfolio and went, nah. Now, you guys know what my artwork's about. Just imagine a tutor looking at my artwork and not selecting me for an illustration course. It's almost like a paradox. That's how insane the situation was. And the guy who interviewed me was called Ian McCulloch, and he now works, I think, at Manchester School of Art. He's a prick, real fucking prick. Not like I'm a prick for fun with a good heart. He's a real prick. And like after the interview, I remember he showed us his work, like his own artwork. How is it possible that someone who has an arbitrary position to decide whether someone goes into university is at the interview day gets to experience what that person's reaction to the tutor's artwork? And I looked at his artwork, and I'm not, I can act like a fucking Glaswegian hardman if I want, but I can't lie to someone's face of whether their art's shit. And I didn't react at all. It's like really crude, awful, like embarrassingly poor anatomy drawing. And I think he might have picked up on that. And it was so nepotistic and weird. This is like before the internet, where people in positions of power and like universities and stuff like that could just be like, they could be controlling and weird like that and get away with it. And I honestly think he looked at my artwork, which was full of like really fucking amazing classical drawing. I think he hated me because I was essentially what he could never be. I saw his artwork. You could even go and check him out. Look at his awful artwork. Ian McCulloch, he works at Manchester School of Art. Talentless, failed artist, masquerading as someone who has something to say in the development of like other creators. I honestly think like the system was so fucked back then. It was impossible for me to navigate my way through it in any way that would give a successful outcome. With like talentless pricks, like teaching and weird, just like completely yeah, just what I just said about like the whole thing was just fucked. And like so then I was like 20 years old. I've been told all along that I was going to be like an artist, and then suddenly it's like, guess what? You didn't get into uni. I applied for another art course, didn't get into that one as well. Same university, but I should have gone to a different website, different university. And yeah, like I was essentially a stonemason's labourer for about 4 years, working, making like stone walls, a lot of driveways, like paving. Working with a bunch of like guys who would be described these days as like EDL racists, brutal skinhead thugs. I mean, like I fucking absolutely hated them. I loathed them, but I had to work with them. You know, there's 3 times where they were just so fucking grotesque, so disgusting, that I said, I can't do this with you today. I'm going home. Like, just fuck you. Like all the rest of it explains my character a bit. I'm sort of like a bit of I've got this sort of, I'm a happy person, but I'm not, I enjoy myself. And I'm relaxed and I have fun and I can be creative and stuff like that. But like, I actually like my anger. It drives me forward a little bit. And it sort of helps me focus on what I'm actually trying to do and the agency I want to have in my life and the things I want to change. But yeah, like, if you were told all along that you were going to have all these opportunities when you're an adult, and then you found yourself digging up a roundabout, age 23, listening to 2 men talk about how they raped someone in the army, do you know what I mean? It's not the ideal. It's not the ideal story of what the first part of your adult life is going to be like. Like, that was not the right way. That was not the sort of situation or experience that, like, best released my potential as a fucking artist. Like, if I had that whole time again, I see the opportunities people like teenagers and like people in their early 20s have now, when they can actually go on the internet and actually work out what they want to do and see what's going down about how they want to train themselves, where they want to get higher education, where they want to go to university, college, stuff like that. It is a world away. It is a fucking world away from what we had. We literally had to just like do a portfolio or something and then hope and pray that someone, like some see you next Tuesday with a fucking arbitrary position as to whether or not we go forward, would like it or not. Like, if I could turn back time, I would love to have gone to the what's it called? Forget the name now. Why can't I think of it? It's
trade school.
No. It's an Italian drawing school in Florence. It's a Florentine Academy of Arts. If I got, it would have just been amazing for me, development as an artist. But I turned it around myself. I didn't wait for someone to sort of come and save me from this. Mm-hmm. I wasn't like, oh, I'm no good. I never lost any belief in myself. All I did was completely condemn the mediocre, inept morons who couldn't give me any opportunity whatsoever. Like, so essentially, yeah, my schooling and education was as bad as it could get. And at the end of it, I was sent to the gulag for 4 years. And then one day, I was coming home from work, and I remember I went into the shop to buy some snack or something I wanted, and I saw they had a copy of the free ads. And you know the free ads, like the free ad newspaper?
Yeah.
And like, I never bought the free ads, never picked it up, because I didn't really even have enough. Like, I was working for like 8 or 9 hours, like, you know, just digging, moving rocks, stuff like that. And like, you know, I remember like, I was working on a building, and also I was almost killed twice in that time as well, in accidents. for like, labouring so dangerous that like you could almost get killed twice, but then you get paid less than 40 quid a day cash. This is shit. That's how shit the economy. And also coming off the back of this, me and all my friends like James, my cousin, all like Tommy Ham and all these people like that you might sometimes see pop up here and people like that. And my brothers did go to university. They managed to get in. They did different sorts of things, but we're also unemployed. After college, we were unemployed. Like late 90s, there was no work. So it was like I spent a year unemployed before we even got a chance to do anything. But going back to the free ads, I picked up the free ads, and I looked at the musical instruments section, and there was a Jackson Dinky there for 80 quid.
Damn.
And I fucking too right. And I was still like, seriously, again, I think a lot of people don't appreciate the rarity and coolness of American metal guitars in England in the 90s. Like, one kid at our college had a Jackson Performer, this kid called Nick, and even we couldn't really believe that he had it until we saw it. We thought he was fucking gassing about it. They were not common. They were like still like, oh fucking just imagine if I could get hold of a Jackson. Fuck. You know what I mean? It's like real, like, and like, but this guy had this Jackson. So I didn't have a car, so I cycled out about 20 miles to get this guitar to this tiny little village. And I went in there, and it was really weird. It was like this weird cul-de-sac with about 4 houses in it, and there was like 3 guys in there, and I was still a bit like rural. I was still quite. I'm like country. I like grew up on a farm and stuff like that, and like grew up very much in the middle of Devon. So I wasn't that worldly wise by that point. I was only worldly wise when it came to like brutal shit from cunts who just come out of prison and sort of like, the guys I was working, stuff like that. They were like, see, these guys are fucking brutal. Like, I remember asking this guy Mick, I'll tell you, I'm not going to go on this stuff. I'll tell you about these guys. This guy Mick was so fucking tough that on the first day I was working with him, we had to lay a patio underneath an old couple's in their backyard, and we had to lift the garden shed up on stilts to lay the patio underneath. And this guy Mick was such a meathead that he banged a 6-inch nail into the stilt so hard that a fucking spark came off it from the hammer. Now, I know if anyone here does like practical like that, have you ever seen a spark come off a fucking nail when someone hit it with a hammer? I've never seen that before. This cunt was brutal. He'd been the only reason he was working in building was because he'd gone into the Navy when he was a teenager. Then he'd come out of that and gone into prison for about 7 years for violence and drug dealing. And then his wife, he had a child with, had forced him to go straight by trying to get a normal job. But like, this guy was like, if you say to him like something like, what do you do if someone comes at you with a dirty needle? He'd just immediately go, you can't catch it twice, mate. You know what I mean? It's like those sorts of good, like, it's experience with those. I had like contact with those sorts of guys.
Yeah.
Who I held in massive amounts of contempt, although I had this, there was things about them that I did respect. There's things about them that I did respect as well. But I was still sort of naive. Essentially, like, to paint this picture of how fucking shitty it was. I was fine, but the environment I was in was really bad.
Right.
But yeah, I went into this house to pick up this guitar. They were, and I think about it later on, and they were quite obviously heroin addicts who were buying and stealing and selling stuff. That's I was too naive to work that out at the time. But like later on, I worked out what was going on.
To be fair, that is how you get the best deals.
But enough of the grimy shit. I don't have a special case having a fucking hard time turning from a child to an adult. I think millions of people, just in my country, had a very similar experience. I don't think I'm some sort of special like case like that. But yeah, it was rough. It was rough. But anyway, I got this guitar and I did this inlay on it, which is the one you might have seen called Hell Wheel, which has got where the skeletons are tumbling down through the cogs and getting chewed into pieces at the bottom. And I heard of Tom Waghorn's studio in down in, well, it was up on the hill in Bristol back then. It was up on like St. Michael's Hill. And I went in there to ask him some technical advice on how to cut the inlay back. And he looked at it and went, "Did you do that?" And I went, "Yeah, I did do that." And he went, "Where did you learn to do that?" I said, "I didn't learn to do it, I just did it." And he went, "Do you want to be my apprentice?" Like literally just like that. I mean, not like so flippantly as that, but like within like 24 hours, he'd offered me, he said, "You can be my apprentice if you want." I'll tell you, that was when I was 24 years old. That was the first opportunity I'd ever been given in my life. The first one. Wow. Everything before that was just doors slammed in your face. You're not worth it. We haven't got the space for you. You don't fit in here. And then Tom Waghorn was the first person who went, "Yeah, you've got it." And like, just to like illustrate how entirely inept the fucking losers who had the, you know, the fatal misfortune of fucking being in contact with me on my way up. That same year that Tom Waghorn, who's one of the best luthiers on the fucking planet, this guy is, when you call him technical luthery, this guy knows everything. And one of the best things, and I'm honoured that he taught me. And like, he's an amazing luthier. And he's underrated as well. If you guys want a savage custom fucking electric guitar, just fucking, like, Tom Waghorn is the dude. Like, underrated. Just go and look at his stuff if you're not that familiar with it. He's the guy who taught me. And yeah, but as a craftsman, he's so high up there. That same year, so I'd had like these waste men just reject me for my artistic ability. That was when, like, you know, we're starting to get email addresses and sort of being able to contact people you didn't know and stuff like that. I sent some of my artwork to Glenn Fabry. Now, Glenn Fabry is the guy who does the Preacher covers, if you know Preacher comic.
Mad the comic, okay.
Yeah, you know Glenn Fabry? Like, so he was a big-time, late 80s and early 90s, 2000 AD artist, which is like, you know, the biggest British sci-fi comic. And he used to do a lot of covers, but like, he's one of the sickest painters I've ever seen. I sent him some of my stuff and said, "Oh, Glenn, can you give me a few pointers on how to do this and how to do that?" And he just took one look at my stuff and said, "Come to my house for 3 days, I'll teach you everything you need to know." So it's like real artists working at the highest level instantly realised my abilities. And fucking waste men who just like didn't even have the humility to fire themselves, even though they knew how pathetic their contribution towards the development of creative people was. These embarrassments. You know, I never for a split second let their attitude to me get to me even in the slightest. They were beneath my contempt. I was just like, one day I'll find some way of embarrassing you so badly you destroy yourself, or I'll destroy you some other way. But like, so angry. And when Tom Waghorn with my craft said, "Yeah, come be my apprentice," and when Glenn said, "Yeah, I'm going to teach you everything you want to know," and I actually finished my studies with Glenn Fabry about 5 years ago. So between sort of 2006 and 2016, I was always working on something and teaching like myself, working on stuff with Glenn. And that's why if you look at my artwork, my painted artwork, and you look at Glenn's, there's you can see a sort of similarity between it. It's because he's my tutor. So yeah, I didn't get any opportunities until I was 24. And that's why I've sort of got this sort of strain of anger in me, which I quite like.
Well, it spawned a couple questions, honestly, and then we got a bunch of submitted ones. But going back to your time in art school and your experience with that. Now, you mentioned that there was another school that you, in hindsight, you almost wish that you would have gone.
Yeah.
What is your overall view of the fine arts being taught at an academic level? The general idea of instructors sitting there and trying to actually write it down in black and white how somebody is supposed to express themselves in an art form, something that's supposed to be completely creative and expressive.
It's antiquated and obsolete. You're much better off having full access to the materials and a space to do artwork, and then having your tuition by an artist who's got an incredible talent.
Would you think that applies in music too?
The internet, I haven't thought about it so much in that regard. It might probably, yes, it would do. It would do. It would be the same thing. Now, this isn't just me flippantly saying something. You know, my brother's a senior lecturer. He's technically in charge of thousands of students, and he's a professional lecturer. Now, he's a design lecturer, so it's an objective they're going for. They need to design something that does the thing. With the subjective arts, yeah, I mean, I think that like universities are going to. I mean, I've never went to university, so I can't speak with massive authority on it. But the access the internet is giving to real expertise is making universities obsolete at every sort of level. I mean, don't listen to me. Go and listen to like lecturers and teachers and educational theorists. I can't remember who's that guy. He's got short grey hair. He's 70s and he's American. He thinks the universities have got about 20 years left. Then it's over. He says education will be so further along, and so it will be so custom to the person using the much better quality resources. The university model as we recognise it, the one that failed me massively, or didn't even want to know me, will just be an obsolete thing of the past, and human progress and education won't involve the failure. I'm just talking about in art. Art's a very specific thing. I'm not going to go on about that. Let's forget about that. But like, yeah, and also, but an important thing is, I probably wouldn't have changed it because I love artwork and I absolutely love art, doing artwork and producing it, but I don't enjoy it as much as I enjoy working in heavy metal. So I much more enjoy like so there's two buildings. One's an art gallery and people are inside are being really polite and drinking white wine and boring the shit out of each other and you. And the other one's a club with a death metal band in and everyone's having a laugh, going mental, having a drink and taking drugs. Like that, I'm not even, like, compare them, I'm not interested in going into an art gallery. And I don't think I ever will. Like, I think my artistic potential is big.
Oh, you cut out on me. Your artistic potential?
I think it'd be very difficult to represent, for me to be represented by a gallery anyway.
Gotcha.
Because I'm like, my artwork's very complex and extreme. I might actually go and just go back room and sit in a different place and plug my phone in because of my battery. Since I've come out here, now my battery is going down.
Okay.
So I'll come. I'm going to say that I'm going to call you back in about 1 minute.
Sure. Oh. All right, everybody. Intermission while Dylan gets set up in the other room. Let me see here. Trying to see if there's any questions here that I could answer in the meantime for you. Let's see. Somebody asked opinion on fan frets. If anybody's still interested in that. Only on 8-string and higher. Other than that, not very interested. You don't really need it on, I really don't think you need it on 6 or even really 7-string. So take on that. But do we have any other questions? Man, a lot of people popped in here. How do we solve the poser epidemic? I definitely want to get his opinion on that. Let's see here. There. He's joining back in. As soon as Instagram will. There you are.
Yeah, we'll see if this connection stays okay. But yeah, like I don't resent the way that I came to this point. There's things I would have done massively differently. There's things I wish I'd made the decision earlier that it is economically impossible to expand Daemoness in England. I wish I'd done that like a long time ago. That would have changed things. But like in regards to me being an artist, I'm much happier being an artist working in extreme metal than I am being an artist who would have like, even if I had gone to that academy that would have just been absolutely perfect for me. Like, yeah, even if I had gone there, I think I would have been guided in a direction that wouldn't have released like the most potential for my actual artwork. But yeah, I think like to be honest, I think maybe not talk about my artwork, or maybe talk about it a bit later in the interview because I could go on about that for a long time. That's a very complex story. Unless you guys want to hear me talk about that even more. But like, yeah, I'm happy. I think the best soil for me to grow in as an artist is definitely the extreme metal scene. I'm much happier being an artist in that than anywhere else. I wouldn't have been happy being an artist in, say if I'd finished training with Glenn and then he'd said, "Oh, do a comic. I'm going to put you in contact with 2000. You do a comic." Like I like comics, but not really. Like I couldn't go to a convention. I'm not really into them. Like, with all respect to comic fans, great, but nah. I want to go to a fucking show. Like, I want to do something actually cool. I want to do like art in guitars. Like I just like.
Yeah.
And like do days. Like, does this make sense? I don't know if this makes sense. Do you know what I mean by that?
Well, you kind of cut out that last
extreme
bit there.
metal. Okay, like what I'm trying to say is like metal's way cooler than working in art, and it's like a magnet. Like it's way more exciting. It's way more satisfying. Yeah, and like, I'm glad now that I've worked in metal as an artist, and that's also done something else really important. I think yeah, I'm not going to go on about this too much, but like what it's done is enable me to develop my artwork away from any other outside source. So I don't have to compromise my artwork at all. I can just do it. It can be completely pure, authentic, classical artwork. Like not for anyone, not for. It's completely. And like when I say about 80% of my artworks unreleased, like over the past couple of years, I'm like, well, I know about 2017, 2018. I was like, well, I'm 36, 37 now. I need to actually really start to get, because the first part of my development was fucked up by other people, not recognizing my ability. And so I need to crystallize this together to actually get this to a stage where I can actually present my artwork. But I've got 3 projects that are at my home studio that are, when they're ready, people won't believe them. They won't believe what they're looking at. Things, I mean, and there's one of them that I have put stuff out about, and people are they are familiar with what it is. But I've never presented it because it's not finished technically yet, and that's that huge picture. Invincible. It's called Invincible in Battle: Centuries at the Edge of the World. I started painting that. I wanted to paint an entire Roman army fighting an entire barbarian horde since I was a child. And that's because my dad was illustrating. You might have seen I put up stuff on Daemoness, and my dad was illustrating books on Vikings in these. So like I didn't, so I had like my house was full of Viking stuff. And funnily enough, my name is like a Danik like name, and we got my dad a DNA test a couple of years ago for Christmas. Turns out that he's like, it was really weird. He was like almost entirely Germanic Nordic, and he actually had 4%. I think it was 2.5 or 4. He had high Neanderthal DNA, and he also, I can't remember if it's 2.5 or 4% Native American, and apparently all modern Scandinavians have got this Native American genetic marker, and it's from the Vikings when they spent about 200 years trading women between Newfoundland and Denmark. I think between the
Wow.
9th century and 11th century. But yeah, like not only like and like Humphries were like Normans who came over at like 1066, and weirdly, yeah, like Humphries were always all the things I do, like always scribes, chroniclers, artisans. But yeah, my dad was literally working for like Oxford University printing books. I had when I was in that 4 or 5 years old when like you know kids just like they're like sponges. They take in so much information and data. It was all just like Viking stuff. So even that long ago, I was like, one day I want to paint a whole huge Titanic clash between Romans and like Germanic barbarians. Um, but yeah, Glenn Fabry was the guy who like taught me how to paint or control my technique in a way. And that picture, I mean, like that picture's like 97% covered, but weirdly, my development as an artist, like I just get better and better, especially as a painter. And like when I got to the stage about 5 years ago when I finished studying with Glenn, like I've only been able to actually, I've only been at a technical level where I can finish that pit, do it proper justice for about maybe 3.5 years. And I haven't had the time in that 3.5 years to really finish all my other projects and focus on it. But yeah, that picture's done. People really won't fucking believe what they're looking at. And I'll give you one more example of that. About maybe 3 years ago, I had some people coming to stay at my flat. And flat was a bit of a tip. So I called my friend, a cleaning lady, and like I said, like, oh, could your cleaner help me sort my flat out because I got visitors this weekend? Yeah, and like, and the Invincible in Battle was set up in my living room because I'm working on it. And I was also sort of flat out because I'd have like servants around me and stuff like that. I just wanted some help cleaning this place. And she got in there, and when she was in that room, it went quiet, and like she she was looking at the picture for about 20 minutes. Now, with all respect to everyone, a lady with 4 kids has got better things to do in the day than look at a picture for 20 minutes on her own time. Like this picture is not like other pictures. It's so, and this isn't the only project that I've got at my house like that. Um, it's like these pictures, these works of art have been ground over years and years and developed, and when they won't be comparable, they won't be comparable. Let me tell you something about Invincible in Battles. So the first picture is pretty much 90%. Just the 10% left to do is the stuff that I've only really achieved in my technical 3 years, 3.5 years. But after that, I've already started composing. It's going to be part of a triptych of pictures. I've already started composing the pictures that go on the left and the right hand side, just very simple sketching. It will probably, now I've finished training, probably take me, I mean, that picture personally also, me and Kyle wanted that to be the first Vitriol album cover, but it wasn't finished, and I wasn't at the stage where I could finish it. I was too busy with other things. In hindsight, we wish we'd sort of like just used a part of it, but like at some point like that you know, we'll use it with Vitriol. That artwork is so, I mean, like you look at how much Kyle's obsessed picture. You know, that picture is pure. It's solid Vitriol.
Right.
But I'll tell you something about that. Now I've finished painting. Now, like I haven't had a question about painting the Glenn Fabry for 5 years. Like, I'm ready for this. When that entire project's finished, I think Invincible in Battle will probably arrive in about 2.5 years. That's when I'll be able to present that as a finished piece of artwork. With the other two that go with that, I think I can't find anything to compare it with in the entire canon of artwork. Artist
Hey,
since the Emperor Trajan commissioned Trajan's column. Is it working?
it did cut out.
Does it cut out? Or
It
where have I
froze up.
got
It's
to?
catching back up again. I can't hear
Like
you. Oh, okay.
the the magnitude of that project, like it's almost like as when it comes to I aim very high and I aim myself as hard as I can, and I don't care when with my paintings when they're actually ready. All I care about they will be ready. It's just like all I want is just to make them so titanically powerful as works of art that they sort of transcend. They become masterpieces in the way that they cannot even really be understood, though they're so awe-inspiring and like and yeah, but like it's not even fun. They're not even fun to paint. I'm driven to paint them, but they're so stressful, and you have to concentrate so hard to paint them that they're not even. It's just something I have to do to like deliver that side of my artistic vision to make it into a real thing that people can look at. And it happened now, especially now I've sort of like be burned up by so much stuff. I'm just essentially like fuck it all. Like I only really believe in like and a few of my friends I completely rely on in this sort of thing. I'm not really that concerned about what other people are up to or doing or thinking about this or that. And yeah, like I think so. I say like if you like Daemoness and if you like my artwork, it's only going to get better because it's been in a way really. It's always been. Anyway, that's art stuff. Let's get a guitar question.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I know you mentioned how long you had been drawing, and we kind of went through your journey with that. At what point along did wanting to play guitar and death metal, black metal, all that, all the extreme stuff? At what point did
So,
can you hear me?
so I basically rock music from my collection. So I had
Hmm. Are you there?
I mean, we don't need to talk about him. Easily the best guitar I lived. Don't trust me about it. I'll trust Lemmy. You know, I loved it when Lemmy like in peace. But I remember when he had that Radio Music show about 10 years ago or so. I remember there's one of the skits on it, and it was Lemmy saying, "Jimi Hendrix was the best guitarist by a country mile. No one else has even come close." And that's what I think. Hendrix is the best guitarist he ever lived. So I was into like 60s and 70s rock, and like a favorite band still these days is the Doors. People are quite surprised, but my favorite band is the Doors. But then when I was about 14, my cousin James got me into Metallica, Megadeth, Slayer, Biohazard. We even like Fear Factory back then, but we were kids. And like and so I got into like thrash and stuff like Black Sabbath and things like that. When I went to college, that was when I first heard death metal. The first death metal song I heard was Domination. We were allowed to listen to our own music at college, and my mate Mark had a copy of Domination, and I couldn't believe it. I was like, this is fucking fucking it. This is it. I was like, right. I was like, ich liebe, and like, and then yeah, I just got into more and more. Funnily enough, I didn't get into black metal until I was in my 20s because it wasn't around. It was hard to get hold of. Like
Yeah.
in the mid, like when it was all like when the sort of black metal was really kicking off, so sort of 92 to 94, I was 11, going on to 13. You wouldn't get a tape in England. You wouldn't get a fucking tape. These bands are something you might have seen a picture of. You didn't know what they sounded like. It took till it was so esoteric with the tape network and the way it was organised. Yeah, I didn't. I remember I didn't actually see an actual black metal release. There wasn't a rip-off tape I got off somebody or stolen off LimeWire until about maybe 2001.
Good
Yeah,
old
like
wire.
very quickly, like a lot of the old trad metal got replaced by yeah, just like death. I like Slayer. Obviously, like Slayer pretty much like a death metal band for me, and obviously everyone knows that Jeff Hanneman invented death metal. Slayer are technically a thrash, but not really. They're sort of like a death metal band, really. They're halfway between a death metal and thrash band. So like, but yeah, I just love the speed and the intensity and the sheer raw power of black metal and death metal. And I loved all the Floridian bands. I'll show you something cool from back in the day.
Oh, hell yeah. It's awesome.
So you see that? See that MIA man? That's one of the best death metal guitarists ever. That's Tony Norman when he was in Monstrosity, and then he toured with Morbid in like 2002 2003, like when Eric wasn't touring with Morbid, like Tony. I'll tell you a little story about this photograph because it says a lot about a lot of the older metal heads understand, and some of the younger ones maybe don't understand so much. It's something that I think the internet. But I'm talking about the unspoken international bond of brotherhood between headbangers. If some headbanger, you just support them, you just help them out. I think that's and again, a lot of the ground scenes probably have something similar. But like, if they're a man, you already know you've got a massive man. So yeah, I mean that's the guy who fucking plays the Angel's Venom. He wrote that. This guy, but he's also MIA. Like he fell off the face of the earth in 2003. Gone. Although I heard from someone he is still alive. He just completely had to change his life. He had a lot of drug problems.
When did Mark English join
after
that
that
band?
Morbid tour, I went on eBay because I wanted to put together a guitar. I think I was just playing. I had my RG 7620, but that was a 7-string. I wanted a 6-string again, so I was looking for parts, and I saw this. Blended. Monstrosity's been a bit of a revolving door with members. I mean, like it's only Lee Harrison, I think, who's like it's his band. Yeah, like I'm not quite sure. Fucking awesome band. Monstrosity was an underrated death metal band. They do not fuck around. Monstrosity, fucking awesome. But like,
hey, there's a huge
someone's just called
delay
Nox
going
Death
on
Metal.
right now.
If they're talking about Nox, which is like the side project of the guy from Centurion, again, titanically fucking. Who is that? Nox is death metal. Nox and Centurion. I was lucky enough to see Centurion in 2016.
Okay, yeah, that was such a bad delay that no, that wasn't working. Holy shit! Let's try that again here in a second. All right, let's try this again here. Come on. Only for a second. Are you there, man? You there, bud? There's a little bit of a delay. There's a bit of a delay still, but it's not as bad as it was. The other delay was almost like a full 10 seconds or something. Full 10 to 15 seconds.
But yeah, this is just weird. This take after so long, it's just weird. Hey, what I'm saying.
Oh yeah, I can definitely hear you. The thing that sucked was just how delayed the audio was after. Like I would see you talk, and then hear it like.
Oh right, that's confusing sometimes.
Yeah.
Let me say. Well, there's nothing really we can do about that. I don't know.
It's a lot better now.
I'm like ugly as well, so maybe just like put something like put like a beer mat over. I'll try again on this, but essentially, is it working?
Oh yeah, you're good now. Yeah, it's perfect
Okay.
now.
So I went on eBay. I went on eBay and I was looking for some guitar parts, and like it was like Tony Norman's BC Rich Virgin body, Tony Norman's BC Rich Virgin neck, Tony Norman's pickups, Tony Norman's amp, Tony Norman's skateboard, Tony Norman's fucking stereo, Tony Norman's fucking Lakers collection, all this sort of Tony Norman stuff. And I messaged the guy who was selling it. I was like, what's this about? And he was like, oh, we're just cleaning out a lockout that Tony Norman hasn't paid his rent on. And I sort of said, I said, hey, well, like, if you're just fucking selling Tony Norman's shirt off his back, I'm not interested in buying it. National Code of Metal Brotherhood. Like, you know, you wouldn't be you wouldn't fucking just buy off the repo man who just gone around and fucking kicked your mate's door in. But then a couple of weeks later, I got this message from the seller saying someone else had Tony Norman, that his stuff was on eBay. And the seller had told him about me not wanting to buy his stuff out of the respect that I wouldn't just buy Tony Norman's stuff after the Reaper Man had got into his fucking lockup. And then, yeah, and then like this said, oh, Tony Norman wants to send you something. And he sent me that photo.
Oh, that's cool.
And he also sent me a little answer phone message. Hi, Dylan. Is that Dylan? This Norman. I just want to say thanks, bro, and love back. And yeah, sworn to the black, and I'll see you on the road. And like, so that says to me that that's all about the international code of Metal Brotherhood and how we always stick up for each other, always support each other. And like, the internet's eroded it slightly, but to be honest, nothing stops metal. Like, nothing will stop heavy metal. It doesn't even matter. Like, the metal scene in England at the moment fucking sucks. I couldn't personally give a flying fuck. Like, I would be dead if there wasn't other really good metal scenes going on in the world. If there was no metal, I'd be like drowned. But I don't care that the metal, like, do you know what I'm trying to say? It's like, it's so huge and omnipresent, and it's sort of beyond the present time. Like, you know, I imagine a lot of people reading this will like they spend a lot of time listening to metal from 30, 40 years ago, and it still feels as relevant as it ever was, because, and the reason is because a massive amount of the intellectual content of metal is based on aspects of the human condition which are the same in every single environment or time or era. That's why there's a huge link between heavy metal and like classical art. You know, see my pictures and stuff. Like, it's very, very similar. I'm talking about good quality. I'm not talking about like, there's no like, you know, Peter Bruegel the Elder. You know, I mean, I'm talking like, but like, you like sense?
No, I get
Have
it.
you frozen now? Okay. Just saying I might need to go back to the lobby. I'm going to, if I can find somewhere I can plug my phone in the lobby. I've never tried doing that before. Okay, let's do that.
Sure.
Let's go. But yeah, so I don't think of metal as being something that needs to even rolls along. It's always there. Let's see if there's any plugs around here. Well, I'm gonna try in the kitchen. I'm going to try here in the kitchen and see how that works.
Talk.
Working at all. But yeah, so as I was saying, yeah, I'd say metal is like an omnipresent musical force. Don't get down if there's none of it happening around you. Doesn't mean that much. And also, when people sometimes people say to me, "What's going on in metal?" The first thing I would say is, "Well, what are you doing?" Because metal doesn't go anywhere unless metalheads are building it and pushing it forward and developing it and just yeah. So yeah, like, it's almost like I've got this constant belief like nothing can knock my confidence in metal. I've seen so much of it done so excellently that really it's bigger than going like some like commercial music scenes go up and down
Yeah.
and up and down. I'm like, who gives a fuck? Like, technically goes up and down and up and down like that, but it doesn't really.
No.
Does that make sense? It's strange. This is a difficult comment on you're frozen, so I can't really get any sort of like nods and stuff off you. This is quite hard to talk, but like yeah, like Norman, fucking insane. Yeah, that guy. Yeah. Next question.
Yeah. No, metal definitely absolutely has its own community for sure, and I'm seeing it even. I guess I've always known that, but I'm seeing it more and more after having started this page and kind of just seeing how supportive and how into it everybody is. And there's been a handful of assholes on here, like very very few. It
Oh,
was overwhelmingly positive.
yeah.
And
I mean, like, that's the thing. Yeah, they're out there, and again, it's the people they're serving their ego, not the actual, not they're serving their ego, not their art.
right.
You know, the vast majority of metalheads who are creators. I mean, there's massive, huge amount of metalheads who are fans, and also when I go to a metal show, I'm a fan. Like I get fucking VIP to fucking go backstage and hang out with everything. I don't watch shows from the sides. I watch shows from the pit. I don't actually watch shows from the pit because I don't actually like moshing. I think it's stupid. I like to watch from the front bar. I like to experience the band right up there. Like I'm a huge metal fan. Um, but like was there someone saying you get that with every scene? To be honest, that's not entirely true. I'm into several different forms of music, and some of them operate really differently. I would say, especially the rap scene and the grime scene, almost like the Wild West. There's no people don't cooperate really that much at all, and there's much more complex reasons as to why that is. But we won't go into that.
I'd
Yeah,
definitely
I mean,
say
regards
there's not
to
as much support in the hardcore and punk scene either. It's
yeah,
very honestly, a lot of people in that scene are very self-destructive and there's a lot of drama. There's obviously tons and tons of cliques because you have crews and everything else. Um it's yeah. Honestly, I think it's a very unhealthy scene for sure. Oh, hang on. I can't hear you.
Really good. But you do. The thing is also like, you know, I've met a lot of metalheads, I've met a lot of touring musicians and stuff like that. You do occasionally meet people who think they're rock stars, you know?
Yeah.
Um, but the economy isn't there for them to be a rock star. So essentially, it's sad as fuck because what they're actually doing is they're cosplaying a rock star. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, because I even see like,
Sort of,
can you hear me?
like I can hear you. I can see that you're like. Can you guys see me talking?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I think it might just be my phone. I think it's just my phone. It's just not. It can't run both at the same time. I don't know. This phone's like from 2017. It's like it's getting a bit old now. I need a new phone.
Yeah, even local bands tend to act like they're rock stars, and it's like, dude, you're just playing like your hometown bar. Like, what do you have to be?
Yeah. Something it's the metal. Now you need to understand that the term elite. That's a difficult thing. Um, I'm an elitist. I do stuff at an elite level. I push myself to an elite level. I produce elite level things. The word elitist is difficult because some of your like look at Mohammed Suchmet. He wrote the best death metal album so far this century. Right? He's a fucking elitist. He is so elitist that I didn't want to talk to anyone. And you could have that album if he wasn't an elitist. That's a strange concept. Don't hate the elitist. They often just have standards so high that other people can't understand what their standards and value system is. That's a bad way to think about it. Um, the vast majority of hard-working metalheads just want to basically express themselves creatively. These are about people in bands who want to record music and tour. They want to express themselves creatively, put on a good show for their friends and other people, and have a good time. That's the best way to be. That's the best way to be. You do get people, again, like these days of the internet, there isn't enough economy to be a rock star. If you meet someone who thinks they're a rock star in like underground metal, especially, just take the piss out of them. Seriously, just start ripping out of them. They'll come apart. It'll be really fun. If you can tell me who these people are, I'll do it for free. I love it. An example would be someone like I'm not going to get into like pissing people, but this guy's such a prick that like I'll just say who it is. So Dave DeSanto from Vector thinks he's a rock star, but probably earns about $12,000 a year from his music. So the economy isn't there for him to be a prick,
Right.
but he is one anyway. Yeah, like the vast majority of people I've met in underground has been an absolute honour to me, and Dave DeSanto is he's a really good musician, fucking amazing songwriter, amazing vocalist, brilliant guitar player. But his ego is so huge. I mean, it's destroyed his band. He's trying to pick it up again after like how many years now? I think 3 or 4 years. Um, he just thinks he's a rock star, and he's not because he doesn't have the record contract. He doesn't have the media. He doesn't have he's cosplaying a rock star because that gets him off. But yeah, he's just someone. I'm just saying his name because he's like I've met so many people. He's just the most amazing people I've met in metal, met through working in metal, and he's just, when I met him, he was just such a fucking prick. If I met him again, I'd probably just go Glaswegian and actually just fucking nut him out cold. He's such a bad egg. But anyway, this interview's not about pricks. It's about positive energy. So yeah, yeah. If that makes any sense, if that makes people understand how, like, especially the extreme metal scenes, death metal, black metal, doom scene, stuff like that. They're quality because there's a fuckload of people putting in a lot of hard work to make them quality.
No, absolutely. I have a hard time really kind of getting into that headspace to even really begin to understand it. But I think you pretty much nailed it. I'm kind of almost the swing opposite. Like even going past the point of like humility, it's more I have to work really hard not to tear myself down over things. You know what I mean? Whether it's music, guitar, whatever. So when I come across those people, it's like talking to an alien to me, and it's immediately off-putting, and I immediately just want to, like, I don't know, depending on how big of a prick they are, lash out and hit them, which
Yeah,
I have a couple
put them in the face.
times.
Say like, just say like, what do you think this is? Do you think this is like 1978?
Yeah.
And like fucking people are waiting for your 7-inch to come out, and they can't wait to fucking spend their fucking pocket money on your fucking new single, and then like the record company's going to send you a check so big you're going to buy your parents a house. So no, this is fucking extreme metal in the 21st century. The economy's different. It's just about hard work and the satisfaction of producing a good record or putting on a good tour. Nothing more to it than that. That's enough for it as well. That's enough. That should cover your entire satisfaction of the scene. Like there are other elements as well, but like I mean, one of the things that first made me really realize I had a lot in common with Kyle when I met him was when I said about what's the Portland scene like, and he was like a bit like, well, you know, I think of metal as more like an introverted thing that I do by myself. It's more like my project by myself. It's like, and he's like, and I've seen, especially in the internet age, I've seen people who say they're metalheads, but they don't seem to have. It seemed to look like that metal was just the wallpaper to their social interactions. They didn't have any actual interest.
Oh, cut out again. Hang on, are you there?
Anything that could get exported outside. Only. Also, we got this weird problem of so all the extreme metal scenes that people love developed in pretty much complete isolation. Bunch of teenagers, no one even gave a fuck if they lived or died, and half of them were dying. Like if you look at like the start of black metal. Now, as soon as anything kicks off, social media shines a spotlight and makes it much, much more difficult for it authentically and classically. Again, that's not some hugely profound thing I just said. Loads of people know that, but it's just something we're at. So it's like, it's somewhere where we're at with metal. But I think people should just have a practical understanding of what they're contributing to. They could get a lot of respect if they want it, if they work really hard and produce something that's really respectable. But the idea of like this sort of like rock star ego fantasy, first of all, you should be rejecting it anyway if you've read any decent philosophy. You shouldn't be basically just feeding your ego. You should be very strong and determined in what you want to do and believe in yourself. But just satisfying your ego is not the story of, intellectual progress in any creative endeavor, really. Except if you're Jim Morrison, that's different. But there's all the actual satisfaction for metal and the metal scenes people are in should be from, if you want to produce it, it should just be from recording good music, putting on good shows. And if you just want to consume it, just go out there and support the bands that are working really hard, buy their merchandise, go to their shows, support them, and just, and you'll find that authentic rock and roll experience between fans and the creators in it will be so satisfying for everyone. And that's how it should be. So, yeah, like people cosplaying rock stars in the fucking 21st century can just fuck off. Yeah, I feel about it.
I think for a lot of them, I think they romanticize the idea of just being in a band, playing out, and actually getting to play shows. They feel like they're playing the part, so they think that that's making it, and then when they get home and have to go work their part-time job at Subway, that's the reality that has to set in. And
yeah, so you're saying it's an escapist fantasy. I can understand that. I personally don't indulge in escapist fantasy, so I can't relate to it. But I can see that point of view. But still, like when other people have to pick up the tab
right.
for someone living escapist fantasy when they're out on the road is really, really irritating. Funny enough, you don't get this in black metal. All the black metal musicians I know, you just don't really get these sort of egos because the black metal musicians are so brutal. They're so brutally tough that anyone who was like that would just get chewed up and spat out and smashed in real quick. So a lot of the Norwegian black metal bands that you see now, they're touring, they've been going since the 90s, early 2000s. They're fucking hardcore, and they don't tolerate that shit. And the few who are actually, you know, just their respect and how much they've accomplished in metal is so huge. They pretty much are genuine rock stars in regards to like how they're viewed. They do it right. They know their responsibility to keep pushing their scene forward. They don't go, you know, using their status in ways that are sort of irritating for other people. They're just they're just at the razor's edge of their art still. Yeah, massive respect for Norwegians and Scandinavian, Swedish and Norwegian black metal bands. Fucking that's yeah. I mean, you know, obviously like working with 1349, you know, I've got like guitars coming out like one of the first. In fact, when that black guitar that's a Warrior Extreme with the white binding you saw recently, we'll get live shots of that soon. That's actually with Ein Chai from Tarke and Gorgoroth. So yeah, we got some like shows next year. I think it might be one later this year, but like that guitar's going to be there. And I'm really fucking looking forward to that. I also have another guitar coming out with a fucking like the fucking absolute. Oh, when you see who this is for, you'll just know what's going down with it. This black metal band. I would say they're the most blasphemous band in the world. But yeah, that'll like I'll release that stuff soon. I fucking love working with those guys. That's really deeply inspiring for me.
Damn.
But yeah, those guys don't fuck around. And like, yeah, a guy like Dave DeSanto would get. Yeah, he wouldn't last 5 minutes. He wouldn't last 5 minutes in a fucking extreme metal scene like Scandinavia. He'd get turned inside out. He's living a fantasy.
Well,
but yeah,
sadly, the music scene here, specifically around my hometown, yeah, it's such a world apart from that. There is a little bit of that. So there's basically like two camps, right? So you've got the one camp that is more into hardcore and traditional metal, like death metal and you know, heavy sludgy shit, or you know, they just want something raw, and whatever heavy genre it might be, whether it's hardcore or some sort of extreme metal. As long as it's raw and something real, they're down for it. And lots of fights break out at shows, and you know, they get rowdy. Then there's this other camp around here where it is like the complete flip opposite of that. It is like the skinny pant, tight shirt, asymmetrical haircut, you know, crabcore.
well, metalcore. Yeah, like, metalcore's not metal. It's nothing to do with metal. It's just pop music that's been made edgy by having distorted guitars on it. It's just like it's very easy to dissect metalcore and just lay it all out on a table and just say, well, look, you've got everything that's about pop music, like, you know, the lyrics the lyrics are nearly always from a personal perspective, like, I hate my fucking stepdad. You know, it's just like real metal isn't about how much you hate your stepdad. It's about like a concept or like a hypothesis, or it's just about a mythology or like telling a story or something like yeah, like so. Yeah, metalcore is just essentially just like a pop music module that attempts to use elements of metal to like promote itself as being slightly edgy. That's all it is. It's like the entire thing should just be put in the bin, like the entire. And like guys who out there who like
Oh, are you there? I can't hear.
say
There you
some,
are.
man. He's saying alright. Yeah. But yeah, yeah, metalcore, nothing to do with metal, straight in the bin.
Absolutely. I agree.
Yeah, never heard a song of it, which I thought was heavy. Um, it's actually those guys get really good at sweet picking, but they somehow manage to just like make their music pathetically shallow when it comes to actually conceiving it and actually writing down. It's like it's a joke, and then yeah, just the sort of lyrics, vocal delivery is like this awful. It's just pop music. I just don't. And I like a lot of good pop music. Like I love like good pop music isn't bad at all. I was listening to a Madonna fucking Blonde Ambition tour today from 1987 in Turin. That was like good quality pop music. She played. Go and watch it on YouTube. Fucking awesome show. She did. She ended it with. How did she end it? She went from Live to Tell to La Isla Bonita to Who's That Girl, and then finish off with a metal intro on Holiday. Like I don't hate pop music when it's done well; it's fucking awesome. But yeah, like I'm talking about like metalcore's like it's like shit 21st century mobile phone based pop music. Combined with man, yeah, like this, I can't see any equivalence. So say if let's just say, I don't know, say I was listening to 1349, they're definitely a metal band. Those guys, fucking, yes, you're listening to metal, you have the heavy metal experience. Or let's use a different, let's say, I don't know, let's say Centurion, a death metal band, because metalcore has essentially taken a lot of elements from death metal. When I listen to Centurion and I listen to some metalcore, there's things that are technically similar, but the actual experience of it's about there's no similarity with them whatsoever in what they're actually communicationally. There's nothing going on that's similar at all.
Nope. Damn it, we were on a good one there. Are you there?
Like,
There we go.
Tears. I've heard some. I've liked this. Seems to be like I've spoken several times about how the fundamental driving forces of heavy metal are like what Slayer said. We have an industrial complex which needs total war all the time, and we're destroying our environment. Like literally, mankind's going to end. Um, that's the and like Black Sabbath, it goes back before Slayer, like Black Sabbath, like generals gathered in their masses. Do you know what I mean? It's a doom song. It's like a warning song. Thrash metal was a huge reaction to the Cold War. Now, also, like I look younger than I am. I'm 41 years old. Like I look younger than I am. The Cold War was something which a lot of people don't understand if they're younger. Like we really were on a knife edge. Like I remember, like in the 80s, my dad hearing, and he was like, he would wake us up at night, wake us up because he'd heard Concorde breaking the sound barrier over Devon where we lived, and he was in this sort of paranoid state. Maybe there was like heightened conflict, some heightened tension between.
Damn it.
Societies and communities in the 1980s. And like, yeah, it obviously informed what people were making music. Yeah, so I mean, this is not profound. This is not some great noticed. This has been said millions. Thrash is a reaction to the Cold War. That's one of the fundamentals, and the fact we're destroying our environment. When you look at Jet, it's so intellectually meaningless that like 80% of it, they can't even be bothered to put any vocals or anything on it because they literally can't think of anything to say. because they're not even saying anything. It's only half a message. There's nothing trying to communicate. It's literally just, look how clever my riffs are. But the riffs aren't even clever, because when you haven't got an overarching message you're trying to put forward, your music's going to be shit. Like, I mean, like, there might be some exceptions. There's interesting things that some, like, so-called people who are writing that sort of stuff and playing might be coming up with. That might be, you know, musically good in some sort of context or capacity. But, I mean, if I provide the harshest criticism of Gent, I would say it's music about what it's going to be like being rich in the future. Hey, right, if you're into Gent, right, I'll tell you something straight. That's not happening. You're not going to be rich in the future. You'll be lucky if you get one. I think there's about a 50-50 chance mankind won't survive this century. So if you want to keep pretending that the fucking tomorrow is going to be fucking Candyland, the fucking sooner you give that up, the better you do for yourself. Forget about it. I honestly mean that. That scene is, I couldn't give a flying fuck. Is it even a scene? I don't know. Just seems to be a load of fucking, it just seems to be circle jerking in music rooms. I don't give a fuck about it.
It's honestly, it feels like more of a meme at this point than it does an actual music scene.
Yeah, it's like, yeah. Someone else said that to me recently. Said, like, yeah, like it's like music if it was memes. Like, I just think, yeah, don't understand it.
Yeah.
But then again, even the band whose signature sound was mainly taken to develop it, Meshuggah, even they're like, what the fuck? You can tell they're polite. Most Scandinavians are polite, but you can tell they're like, what the fuck is this?
There actually was.
You can tell they're not proud of what they.
There actually was a quote that I reposted from them a long time ago. I can't remember if it was Martin or Frederick that said it. One of the two guitarists. That he actually apologized for them accidentally creating that subgenre.
And like, I mean, like, the thing is, like, I'm not into the later Meshuggah stuff, but like, I'll tell you something weird, and it's really sad that happened to Meshuggah, because in the late 90s, Meshuggah were a fucking really, really exciting and massively expensive, it's not expensive, experimental death metal band, straight death metal band. I remember listening to Chaos Sphere, like, these guys are fucking having it. This is savage. Yeah, I really like their I EP as well. I like that one when they did.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, like there's lots of stuff I did like they did that I liked. But then I think they lost their way a little bit in the 21st century. But yeah, don't hold it against them. They were just four sods who had their sound parasited for this like new confused thing that isn't even a scene. I don't know.
I mean, it seems like every innovative band that comes around, you're almost guaranteed to have a bunch of clones. You know?
Yeah, but not to that extent, maybe. I mean, that could be positive as well. Like, you know, when Necrophagist Epitaph came out, that was like a shot of steroids for every death metal band in Europe and a lot in America as well. Like, that band really fucking like loaded, like, were trying to emulate. Even in my guitar playing, I mean, like, I'm a weird one because I've got so much of my creative time is invested in Daemoness guitars and my artwork. I've never had the time to properly focus on a musical project, but I'm a straight up full-on death metal guitarist, and there will be a point where I will release music that I've written and composed myself. And actually, it's better that it happens post now, because now I know loads of other metal musicians around the world who can go in on me, on that with me. Yeah, it's like a better position. But like, even I try and emulate Necrophagist when I'm playing and writing music, because Necrophagist is so fucking insanely good. But I try and emulate it well and try and incorporate it. I mean, that's, you know, like, that's the story of rock and roll. Like, that's just saying who you influence. But like, yeah, it's Ranger with Meshuggah where their sort of signature sound was developed into this thing that didn't really mean anything. But yeah,
No.
can you still
Yeah.
hear that? Yeah.
Sorry, I hate to interrupt just because, I hate to interrupt somebody on a roll. Um,
Oh no, okay. Right. Should we? We've talked about a lot of deep stuff to do with scenes and like artwork and stuff. Should we talk about some guitar stuff?
you know, the fans might appreciate that.
Or should we take some questions?
Yeah,
Like also, I've really enjoyed. We can do this. We
froze again. Are you there?
um from the thing.
Yeah, we got some questions here. So a couple people were asking kind of like, where are you at with Daemoness guitars right now as far as basically like the workload? When will you be taking orders again? And then a couple people just kind of hyped waiting on their builds.
Okay, so essentially, the experiment with expanding Daemoness is over, and I'm not doing it in regards to production. I just can't do it. I can't deliver it. I can't find the people who are good enough to delegate tasks to without having to just check everything all the fucking time.
Damn it.
Increase production, but I closed the order in I think January 2020. It's not going to open again until I've worked through. I've got too much work. I've got too many orders still. Like it got out of hand, especially when I had Matthew Barnes working here. It was just constantly coming up new work, and he didn't have any intention of actually completing it himself. He was just like, get more work in, Dylan will build them all. That didn't work because it just became oversaturated and it's just trying to make me produce too many projects at once. What I want to do now is just work through all the orders I've got because I've still got a lot of orders to build. Work through the orders that I've got and just absolutely kill it. Just so like just make them so fucking hardcore. And also like towards the end of Matthew Barnes being here, it just wasn't working out. It just devolved into a situation where he was just completely obsessed with money and running the business like this hyper fucking productive way that he knew I couldn't really deliver in because I'm an artist and it would involve me working about 130 hours a week to actually do that sort of stuff. And then again, like saying stuff like you're spending too long on that artwork, you're spending too long on this artwork, you need to be more efficient, stuff like that. It's just like and like I can't work like a mill. It doesn't work for me. I won't get this ability if I'm like a mill. It just doesn't happen. I'm under too much stress. I'm too yeah I'm too focused when I work. I don't have any real natural aptitude towards business. I have natural aptitude towards craft and artwork and things like that. So yeah, I just want to sort of like yeah, I'm going to work through all the builds I've got until I've got zero builds. I want my ideal Monday morning is to work and I've got nothing to do and slate and all my things are my responsibilities for the people who've been satisfied. They've got their guitars and I have this like perfect moment where I can work on a project or do whatever I want. And that's what I'm working towards. And I think that people, the Daemoness fans, will find that more rewarding because when I get that space, I'll definitely produce my best artwork and my best guitars. So yeah, I mean, I'm having a conversation. Some people can't wait, and like I say, if you're in my waiting list and you can't wait, and I understand that, you can have your deposit back. But if you are in the waiting list, you're not going to get an opportunity to get that slot again. And when I do come around to making a guitar, I'm going to do it my way, not the way that's like to do with people constantly pressuring me to expand and constantly over-organize everything and telling me how much time I can spend on this, how much time I can spend on that. So I do it my way. And that's why you'll get guitars that are like, I don't talk. You talk, but you tell me what they're like. You know what I mean? You guys, you want me to do this. You know, my best guitars are in the future. They're not in the past. And I'm a bit of a cunt about this, but like I've learned the hard way. Like I'm done with other people when it comes to having them compromise how I like to work and pressure too much. Like if you don't like, does that make sense? Like I'm just like I've never not believed in myself totally. Like I said an hour ago or so. Like I know I'm the best heavy metal guitar maker in the world and designer. Like when it comes to like the sheer impact, and I don't even really feel that tested or pushed. I would almost love another Luthier to come through who is an insane artist because I'd have someone to push back against who is an insane product designer because I'd have someone to push back against. But I don't. I don't see. I wish that would happen. I don't think the social condition around anymore that can produce an artist and metalhead like me. I think it's too different now. But yeah, yeah, just that really. I just want to do like my version, like not compromised at all by like what other people want it to be, or just like too much time pressure, like massively complicated guitars that just want it. But also noticed it's just too weird. Like the internet's fucked everything in a certain way. I've noticed this thing that like because people can't really understand how there's hugely different environmental factors surrounding a guitar brand wherever it is in the world. Some guitar brands can turn a guitar around in 6 months. Some take 3 or 4 years. Um, it's to do with how they're made. It's to do with how complicated they are. But I've noticed this rendered down to this point that it's like anything over 18 months, and it's just like, oh, what's the point? It's like, nah. All the amazing acoustic guitar makers that I knew about when I was learning, because I learned in an acoustic guitar workshop. Tom Waghorn was making 80% acoustics when when I was training with him. You know, if you want a real good craft, just wait for it.
Oh, yeah.
You can get a CNC. You can get a CNC custom where you've chosen the binding and stuff like that, and they'll make it for you in like a couple of months. Great, whoopee! Like I build my guitars in my head and carve them like a sculptor. Can't have that without it being the more old school approach to guitar making. But yeah, again, I'll say it again. The hardest Daemoness guitars exist in the future when there's no one else in that room, and like only I am just choosing, especially the artistic nature of them. I'm going to do stuff artistically with Daemoness, which is shocking, really shocking. And I already have. I just didn't tell you, and not you. I don't mean like you. I wouldn't patronise or like withhold information for like my own entertainment with Daemoness fans. But again, go back to how like it couldn't be like what's Bono saying? How the poser epidemic. I think maybe just ignore it, just marginalise it. Yeah. Like an example, right? So you know that guitar, the bow in the throat of Allah. Vlad the Impaler guitar?
Yeah.
Can't see you. Frozen there, Ryan.
Oh.
Can you hear me?
Just
You're
good. You're good on this end. Just keep going. Don't worry about me.
yeah, like my as an artist, I've always liked to try to pull the like sticking plaster back on just what I call humanity's state of disgrace. Like my artwork like focuses a lot on like how horrific and painful the human condition is, and just how much suffering there is in the world, and how much the world is in denial that like so much of it is suffering, and how there's huge environmental problems. We've got societal systems which are completely bad for the people who live in the society. Is completely bad for the environment. We've got wars, famines, and revolutions. Do you know what I mean? It's just like it's hidden from us in the West in lots of ways about how red in tooth and claw the rest of the world is. Although saying that though, when you look at the data on the quality of life in other
Hmm.
countries over the past 40 years, outside of Western Europe and America, quality of life has got massively increased, and that's a really great thing, like massively increased. But still, lots of my artwork is about things that wouldn't be acceptable if they were presented in a mainstream artistic manner. So I'll give you an example. So the bone in the throat of Allah. First of all, if I went into an art gallery and said, "Oh, I'm an artist, would you like to promote some of my work?" They said, "Oh yeah, have you got some paintings? What have you got?" And I went, "This one's called the bone in the throat of Allah." They wouldn't be happy with that at all because it criticised the religion, or essentially they don't like the subject of criticising Islam. They wouldn't like that, even though it's done from a perspective of just illustrating Vlad the Impaler. The fact is that they just wouldn't. It's too much of a touchy subject.
Art galleries are kind of a racket anyway. Art galleries are pretty much a racket anyway these days, or at least in the big major cities and stuff, and like New York.
They want 50 or 60%. They want 50 or 60% of the commission if people even buy stuff. Galleries are one. That guitar is actually based on something called the Camp Spiker Massacre. Do you guys know what that is?
The what massacre?
Camp Spiker Massacre. Okay, so in 2016, during the rise of ISIS. Now, I don't watch main media because it's bollocks. It's the same as a soap opera. It's just a soap. None of it is going to have any effect on your life. None of it means anything. Half of it's to do with celebrities and other shit that you just couldn't give a flying fuck about. Like I get my news information mainly from just military news sites because they're just talking about things that are objectively happening.
Right.
Just like boring news sites that are more themed towards an industry or something like that. A lot of them are military news sites. You can really understand what's going on in the world if you just keep in contact with what's going on in the navies of the world. If you just keep basically familiar with what's going on in the navies, you can understand what's strategic movements in what I call the global strategic situation. So in 2016, when ISIS were rising, it was just a day. It was just in here. I think it was on a weekend. Started, and I saw a news site. One of the news sites that basically said this new group ISIS is uploading images of some atrocity that's going on right now onto YouTube. Now, obviously, I went on that, and I don't know if anyone else is reading this who saw the same thing, but essentially, if you wanted to watch it, you had a ringside seat to atrocity involving the killing of about, I think, I'm not entirely sure, but I think maybe 4,000 Iraqi teenage youths were killed by ISIS over a period of a few days. And ISIS uploaded the murders to YouTube. And YouTube wasn't big enough or developed enough yet for them to even stop or edit what was uploaded to it. So simply by going onto my news site and then my intrigue as to what's happening, because I like to know what's going on in the world. I don't like someone else to see it for me and tell me what's going on in the world. I like to, if it's going on, I'm hard enough to look at it. Does that make sense? You know what I mean? I don't like to have stuff regurgitated back to me by someone who can look at it. I can look at it, stuff I've really looked into the abyss to inform my artwork. Yeah, I watched, over a period of about 3 days, I probably watched about 400 young men die brutally, violently. I saw a man shoot someone in the back of the head every 5 seconds for about 6 or 7 minutes and push them into the Euphrates River. The reason I watch this is because if an atrocity happens, you don't look away. You need to witness it. You don't know how that atrocity is going to be portrayed in the future. You have if you're hard enough for it, you have a social responsibility to witness it. Else those people could die, and it can never be known, or it can never be understood properly. So yeah, you can go and read the Wikipedia page about the Camp Spiker massacre if you want to. ISIS told thousands of army recruits to go home for the weekend, and then they ambushed them on the motorways and slaughtered them with AK-47s and pistols. They made them dig their own graves, buried them alive, drowned them, ran over them with cars. Like, you know what those guys are like. Jihadists, there's no solution for them, really. It's like they are that brutal. And I looked into that because I want to know how bad humanity is. I want to know. I don't want it shielded from me. I can deal with it. Other people want to just read the news about it. That's great. I don't think it's normal to even want to see this. My mother wouldn't see this. She'd just go, "It's terrible. I don't want to know. I don't want to see it. Don't want to see it." But like, you know, loads of people. I don't mean like my mother's a weak woman. She's a very strong woman, but she wouldn't want to see anything like that. I do, because I want to know how bad it is, and I want to know what effect religion is still having on people that they'd actually do that to themselves, to themselves and to other people. So yeah, I wouldn't. I mean, this is the first time I've ever said something like that. I think it will become more apparent now. Daemoness is going to be more sort of just me making all the decisions as to how it presents itself. That I know you probably would notice this. Who would? But like a couple of weeks ago, I changed off my Instagram account to England's, like, it was like Extreme Metal Luther and England's worst artist, because part of me does want to be who portrays the worst thing. I hate self-aggrandizing societies with no humility. They always fail as well. They always collapse in the end. My artwork is more about holding like them to account and saying, and I said, like, as a global society, like saying, like, again, like, humanity's state of disgrace. It's like, do you know what I'm trying to say? Does it make sense?
I think I do.
Like, my artwork has to witness the worst for it to really make sense. And I haven't really put a lot of that across yet because of the limited way I've worked with my artwork and the strange story as to how I've got to this position. But yeah,
I think it seems like, to summarize, and I mean, correct me if I'm off base here, but just from seeing your past work and getting to talk to you, you know, what little bit we have, I get the general impression that, be it your art or the designs of your guitars, artwork that you illustrate on your guitars, obviously you pull from a lot of classical artwork, but also, like you said, staring into the abyss, seeing like the absolute darkest things out there, and trying to pull from that, but you also try to incorporate from a technical level things that are very founded at a base foundation of kind of beauty in a weird way. Like I said, a lot of classical designs,
yeah, I know what you mean.
and kind of illustrating
like
horrors in this filter.
So if we use an example of the Bone and Throat of Allah, the references for the dead Turks are Syrian teenagers who had been killed and had to die in the street. That's what actually informed that guitar. That's how hardcore that guitar is.
Right.
They were alive 5 years ago. Now they're dead on the guitar. Like, this is not. It's not palatable artwork. People don't like it. That's why I think it's good artwork. The best thing you can do is produce highly technical artwork that people don't like. That is the route for me as an artist. I'm an against person. I push back. I contradict and I criticize, because I don't think that mankind has a great chance of even surviving unless we keep reflecting on how awful we can be and how stupid we can be.
which I think.
No, I'm really, really serious underneath it, like, and I'm going to do more of that, like over the next couple of years when I'm sort of get back more to myself and incorporate more of my own artwork into the thing. Really, really like put it this way. I make art that's interesting to the archaeologist. That's what I like to say. Like, so say if they're digging up something about ancient Rome, there's an easy way of explaining it. I like to make art that would be interesting to the archaeologist, so it tells you something about the time. So if people dig up my artwork, they say it's highly technical and it's suffering. So they can say, like, we know that there was some sort of like greater tension and conflict within the society that produces art. But I'm not interested in my art being like, first of all, no one can judge my art apart from the guys who teach me. Like, I would accept criticism of, and like, also like, I'm massively dismissive of loads of stuff. People like criticize some artwork. I don't really get criticism from my artwork because it's so insanely impactful up there. People just stare at it. But like, with the guys who taught me, like my dad's also an amazing artist, absolutely amazing artist. But like, people like him and Glenn and Tom Waghorn, and I've actually got a new art tutor as well, Patrick Daemoness, who's an amazing oil painter, who's given me like so much advice because I want to transition into oil paintings. Because I think we should stop talking about art because maybe we'll talk about that next time. But I'm preparing a hammer blow with my artwork, and I'm not even talking about Invincible in Battles. I'm talking about something else. Like I've spent so much time just like away, just grinding out secretly, and like Patrick is helping me transition over to oil paints, and like that's a very, very exciting. Like with those guys, they tear me to bits. Like I don't, I criticize other stuff, but like when it comes to my personal development and my teachers, we have a culture. Like Glenn Fabry taught me painting for 14 years. He gave me 5 compliments in that time, and that's how it should be. Like he only ripped it apart. That's why I'm really good at what I do, because like I'm not interested in aggrandizing, self-confirming. Well done, it's awesome, you did great. Woo! So no,
Right.
what is the greatest thing one can experience? It is the hour of great contempt, when your very happiness becomes unto you, and thus your reason and virtue. Like when it comes, my artistic process is brutal. Not in just the artwork it creates, but how I go about creating it. And yeah, it's under the scab of humanity. That's what I'd say. It's ripping up the scab of humanity and making everyone stare at it and like feel bad about it and maybe do something to make it not happen quite as bad next time. But then again, that actually gets to another thing that I think that I speak about with some people. I actually think the world and humanity is now so titanically complicated that it's unresolvable. The huge conflicts and tensions within humanity, religious, political, geographic, I think they're so complicated, they're unsolvable. I think the way we need to survive is essentially to just
Oh, cut out the good part. You cut out again, man.
long enough to the point where our old problems of religion, politics, warfare, resources, stuff like that are just so obsolete from where we are technologically that we can just put the whole thing in the bin. But in the meanwhile, I use my artwork to remind people how awful humans can still be to each other. The main guy on the Bone in the Throat of Allah on the front, at the bottom left, was a head kicked in Aleppo. That's how bad we're at. That's how hard and how dolorous that guitar is. Any other metal guitar brand. Jackson Custom Shop Reaper on. Who gives a fuck? I don't. By putting some real art on there. Leave that to me. I'll do that. But anyway.
I say, really, death metal and black metal.
Dominating their fucking philosophy.
Uh,
What's that?
there's a little bit of a lag
Should we get?
but I was to say, really, you've kind of found your niche with the extreme metal genre. You know, it really can't really fit in anywhere else. Like you said, you can't go in an art gallery. It won't really work in a lot of
Also,
other outlets.
Art gallery is obsolete. If I went to an art gallery, they would have like a quarter of the promotional presence of Daemoness guitars.
Right.
If you look at social media stuff, art galleries haven't. No one's really that interested. Like Daemoness is a much better way for me to platform what I do as an artist than any other route, because I'm fundamentally, like, my message as an artist is fundamental to the message of heavy metal in itself.
Hey, let's take a few questions here just to polish these off real quick. I mean, since you build them for a living, you would know this better than pretty much anybody. How much weight do you actually give to tone woods? Like the actual sonic impact?
Tone woods are really important. Now, you know, I've come to the conclusion that Carina is the best wood for metal. But then again, there's other, and like that's just a purely subjective opinion on what you want to hear. You know, I would say there's more relationship between wood density than wood species. So, you know, a light piece of mahogany is going to sound more like a light piece of ash than it will sound like a heavy piece of mahogany. I think it's more about density. That figures with physics and stuff like that. But yeah, I would say if you're making a guitar, you want light. I usually use what I call medium density bodywood, so I'm looking for medium density bodywood. But I think if you make guitars from really heavy dense bodywood, they can sound muddy, too bassy. You can't really. They just don't really. They don't have enough clarity. It's not great. I always like weigh up my body timbre. Neck timbre should be nice and heavy, and that's fine. As a very, very basic rule, the lighter you make a guitar, the more higher frequencies it has, and the heavier you make a guitar, the more lower frequencies it has. Very, very basic way of looking at it. But then again, I don't select wood like that. Like I huge glockenspiel. And I'm looking for a very, very specific type of timber when I knock it with my knuckle. I think I put out a video a couple of years ago of me doing it at the wood yard. I call it a zonk. Yeah, it's just like zonk. There's something about this sound when you tap it with you, and that's the bit of timber I'm looking for. I'm not quite sure exactly what's forming it. It's something to do with I don't know. I'm mainly talking about when tapping mahogany, actually, because traditionally more Daemoness are made out of mahogany. I think, you know, but it's the same thing with anything. I'm looking for this specific type of sound when I knock it. Carina as well, but Carina's like it's much easier to select Carina. It just seems to give you a sound that you want. Carina's really, really fucking good wood for guitars, like underrated still. But yeah, like so yeah, ask that question. Like, don't go down a rabbit hole with tone wood. There's many different factors that make a guitar sound how it does.
Right.
But yeah, don't underrate it, and don't think, oh, I've got fucking EMGs. What the fucking matters about that? It does matter. Even with EMGs, if you got bad quality, you're just like wrong density body timber, your guitar's gonna sound pretty shit.
Oh, absolutely. I have an Eclipse with EMGs that I love the sound of because it's a big slab of mahogany and it kind of evens it out a bit. But I've played good.
Someone's
Huh?
Go for it. Sorry, carry on.
Oh, I was gonna say I played really thin, like kind of cheaply made, but shredder guitars with EMGs in it, and they just sounded thin and anemic and lifeless. So it, like you said, density plays a huge role. Um, I always thought any kind of Les Paul or
What
big slab of mahogany type guitar with EMGs sounds fucking great. Love that sound.
one of this when I was training, there was like a music shop out the front of where the workshop was, and they had this like the guy who ran it used to go over and buy up loads of guitars in America and come back to England and sell them in his
Yeah.
shop. And he brought back Frankenstein Strat, electric blue Frankenstein Strat, that was made out of parts from like between 1994 and 1997. And oh my god, this thing was so light. It was like it was just weird. It was like it just didn't. It was so and weirdly fucking amazing.
Hmm.
Like it was like the most like if you heard like Jimi Hendrix playing Castles Made of Sand on it, just have that sort of like springy like ultra fucking amazing higher like other frequencies going
Yeah.
on. It just sounded ethereal. You know what I mean? Like you know that some strats have just got that magic clean sound,
Oh, for sure.
and you know it's a strat. It just fucking loads. This thing was technically worth about 600 quid, and it was such an amazing sounding guitar that I think it got sold to some local musician at the end for about £1,400 because it was a Frankenstein 90 Strat, but just had it, and like so yeah, that was.
Kind of cut out there.
Yeah, like metal guitars need to have real attack. So when you're playing really fast and intense, you don't that comes across in the actual playing, in the actual sound going into the amp. Need to have clarity. So like dry, heavy distortion, like high gain, low noise distortion sounds really good. Um, sustain isn't a huge. Just most nice sounding guitars sustain as long as you want anyway. And when people go on massively about sustain, I say, yeah, like I play death metal. I don't hold that many notes for that long.
Right.
But yeah, like just like yeah, like yeah. Does that make sense? Like you need. Here's a good example. In acoustic guitars, lots of acoustic producers know that acoustic guitars that sound dead live often record really well.
Hmm.
Because it's just this thing about frequencies. Like so, say that Sonic Blue Strat is one of the best guitars I've ever heard, but it wouldn't be useful for metal. It's a very specific sort of thing. Something Karina does well. Thing mid-density mahogany does very well. Articulation and clarity of the absolute millisecond when your pick attack hits the string. Those are the two most important things.
I have to agree. I'm kind of struggling to dial in my setup with my new guitar because it's very big. Well, it's right here. It's very reminiscent of a Les Paul. Big, thick.
I, I, I haven't been able to see you for like about an hour.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, it's basically a Les
I've had to
Paul
just go on the.
in a nutshell. As far,
Was it the one you were playing?
yeah,
Was it the one with the little crown in? Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
yeah. So that one, it just sounds. I'm trying to dial the mud out of it, basically. I'm almost there, you know. But so I get what you're saying. Compared to some of my other guitars, well, hell, even that Eclipse, because it's a much thinner body and it's like you said, probably a mid-density kind of mahogany. Um, you know, it translates way better, especially with the EMGs. It's just about
Yeah, ESP are again a brand that I've got massive respect for. ESP are the fucking dons, especially when I was like younger. I don't really know that much what ESP have been up to in like, but like yeah, just like yeah, their custom shop's awesome. Like Sponge Brick is fucking insanely talented at finishing and designing new wacky finishes for guitars. Yeah, he's one of the crown jewels of those guys. I've always like loved DSP guitars.
Oh yeah, great.
But yeah, which is,
Um, hell, even a lot of people ask me about recommendations for, maybe more affordable, like middle of the road, kind of brands and stuff like that. And I typically end up pointing them either towards, LTD or Schecter, just because the quality for the price. I mean, it doesn't seem like there's too many builders putting out decent guitars in that price range right now. You'll find some others, but like Jackson right now, their QC is just so sketchy. Something about LTD and Schecter, the factories that they use, the QC just seems to be way more consistent.
yeah, I mean, like in those brands, like, I just find Schecter guitars too crudely designed for me to like them. There's just something about them. They're just too crude. The ones I used to play in the early 2000s when I was setting up and working in Wacom guitars, make like neck like a communist arm, abalone done really bad.
Yeah.
Just like really poorly selected that sounded shit, like dead sounding shit. Like they fucked up loads of stuff. But I think they can make good guitars when they choose to.
They've gotten a lot better. I used to hate Schecter, sheerly for their designs, like just like aesthetically, I hated them.
Yeah, me too.
And the few and
like like stock inlays that look like a really bad.
Are you there? Can you hear me? Dylan, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, me.
Yeah, they've put out some better designs, and I've played some that actually play and sound amazing, but like newer ones. My problem with them is there's always like some detail or small details aesthetically about them. I'm like, man, so close, but you somehow missed the mark, like just barely, you know?
It's like they're designed by guitarists who weren't really on it. You know? Well, it's like they're designed by country guitarists or something. And no disrespect to country guitarists, and I'm sure they're like I'm talking like old school, like 5-chord country guitarists. There's something about them that's not high octane.
Somebody made the comment, their boardrooms are made from gym dudes with tribal tattoos and tap out t-shirts.
Probably. Someone's asking a question, what's your fan frets? Fan frets are really good. That is an excellent solution to just like the tension problem, not really a problem, but just like, yeah, so like, you've a proper fan, you'll pretty much forget you're playing a fan fret within like 10 minutes anyway. I've always had the problem that I like a real loose feel on the top, where if I'm playing leads and stuff, and so I like hybrid sets, and then like a real savvy like string gauge on the bottom. Like I play like sometimes I play like 64s in E flat on the bottom. I like really high tension strings at the bottom now. That's just as you get older as well. Something happens. Like I'm still a pussy. You should see how the string gauge Carl Sanders uses with Niall. He's a brutal cunt. I'll tell you right. That guy is his guitar technique with how fucking savage he is at guitar playing, let alone everything else he does. About 5 years ago, I know Carl, he was doing a show in Bristol, and I went down to check it out. And I was having a look at his gear, and I think I said this on Instagram on some comment maybe last or something, but he got his Flying V out of the case and they've come over from like wherever they've flown into the country, and like the neck was set, and it had like a 5mm action, like twice as big as an acoustic guitar.
Damn.
And he had like fucking some insane gauge strings of like 13s or something. And I was like, oh fuck, Carl, what are we gonna do? This has got seriously fucked up in the plane. Yeah, do you want me to like take this back to the workshop and reset the truss rod and just basically get the action down and stuff? He just picked it up, swept the fuck out of it for about 30 seconds, like he was fucking moving a broom. And then he just turned to me and went, oh, that's fine for me. Like, that guy's technique in metal is so insane that the setup of the guitar is pretty much coincidental. That technique is brilliant, and there's nothing it can do about it. It doesn't matter what the setup's doing. Fucking insane. Carl Simon's one of the best metal guitarists in the world, easily.
Oh, I agree.
Stupid levels of ability. And he gets, and if you, again, like, you can't sound like him. He's one of the most unique sounding guitarists in death metal. But if you want to try and get any closer to him, you're going to need to start using really, really heavy gauge strings, or it's not happening.
I actually got a set of his signature strings here. It's like an 8 on the high string, like Yngwie Malmsteen type gauge, like super crazy light. But then at the bottom, there's a the very bottom string is a 70 for that low A.
And you can hear it in like in just his vibrato, how there's like this constant tension which is trying to get down. Like it's like Stevie Ray Vaughan style. Whenever you hear that vibrato, that's like really wow. It's like you have to have that high tension.
Oh yeah.
You need the string needs to hate being put under any more tension.
Yeah.
Someone saying Rutan is similar with high action to compensate and how high. Very true, he is. Another. Both those guys have been playing death metal for so long and so excellent at it. They're like their techniques now is so fortified. It's like granite. It's absolutely in awe of them with their guitar playing ability. Eric Rutan as well, still underrated. Fucking awesome. Even like Trey say that Eric's back when he was in more, Eric's the best and most professional and awesome death metal guitarist in the entire death metal scene.
It's almost criminal how he doesn't get nearly enough credit somehow after all these years.
He gets his credit where it matters. He gets his credit where like however many hundreds of bands he's recorded. Right. He gets the credit when he's like whacking in front of 50,000 people with Morbid. I love seeing that. He gets the credit when he parachutes into Cannibal Corpse and just fucking slays it because Pat can't be there. Credit. But still, he's just like the complete.
Kind of cut out again. Are you there?
Should we have a couple more, then should we knock on the head and everyone should maybe go out Saturday night?
Yeah, there's a couple more here.
Yeah. Let's have a couple more, then like go out and do something less nerdy than watching me talk about guitar stuff. go out to a bar or a club, or maybe I don't know. Go out for a ride.
Yeah.
Just something. It is Saturday night. No, it is Saturday. But anyway, let's have other questions.
Well, I do nothing but boring shit anyway.
No, I was only joking with that. I'm the boring one. I'm the one being interviewed. If this interview is boring, it's my fault.
No.
No one else.
No, you're good. Sorry if I'm not talking more with the lag and the connection and everything. I'm always worried about like interrupting.
Oh, it's okay. I wish we could have a more normal conversation, but I'm just looking at a refreshing thing, and you're frozen.
One of these
Face,
days, man.
which is yeah. Someone's saying, what do you think about Vogue and from Decapitated? Vogue is a fucking incredible death metal guitarist, but he unfortunately hasn't delivered the quality of music in the second half of his career that he did in the first. And I think that is a lot going to be down to the tragedies which happened in his band. A guy of his ability in metal joining a shit show like Machine Head with a weather vane, Rob Flynn, is pathetic. Rob Flynn is, I describe him as a total waste man. I listened to Burn My Eyes when it came out and I thought it was good. Every other single record he's done sucks dick. That guy, fucking nah. So I was massively disappointed when I saw that Volker joined Machine Head. But Machine Head's just a sort of, it comes across to me as just a sort of corporate entity now, just a sort of like a band that can sort of like just record music and get X amount of sales because they're called Machine Head. They don't have to record anything decent. He can be as much of a prick as he likes. It's not really going to affect anything. Just completely knackered. I liked Machine Head until when Logan Madden left. I was like, that band's fucked now.
Yeah, it's definitely more your. I always call it Disney metal, where like very non-offensive. It's like Five Finger Death Punch, where it's like you said, more corporate, more just friendly.
It's not saying anything that's going to make anyone do anything any different. It's just meaningless shit. Yeah. But also, when I say Rob Flynn's a weather vane, he's always tacking on to whatever's going on. Instead of being himself, instead of being authentic and thinking of what he's doing and doing something new, he just fucking goes around.
You know, I really picked up on that with the because I was driving in the car and Sirius was on, and like the new Machine Head single came out, and it actually had like blast beats, and I was like, okay, you got Vogue, and now you're just gonna start throwing in blast beats. That's okay.
Like a death metal version of Machine Head, even with Vogue, won't work.
No.
That band needs to go to the glue factory. Vogue needs to leave. Seriously, fucked. We haven't watched that band since 1995. 1995.
It's crazy. Somebody asked what we think about the Lone Wolf Audio HM2 clone, the Left Hand Wrath.
I haven't heard that, but I'm really into cheesy digital distortion.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like I fucking love my Metal Zone.
You know what?
And just
what gear exactly do you play through at home? I mean, we see the guitars. What do you play through the most?
At home, so I like a thrash setup. So that's like a simple, in-your-face, teenagers, high distortion, one cone combo. So I had a crate flex wave that I ran a Metal Zone through at home for about 10 years, and that is a cheesy amp, but it gives you high gain, low noise, in your face, very simple. That's all you need. All you need for a fucking couple of hours fucking riffing away, writing and practicing metal is a fucking guitar up okay, one decent pickup, and a fucking distortion pedal, and a clean single channel 30-watt combo. Once you got that, when it comes to practicing and playing and having a good time, obviously when it gets to recording and stuff like that, it becomes more complicated. When you actually just want to set up on your house, that's 90% of it. And I like my little teenage setup. I get the best results from me out of that. But I recently jacked that in and got a Boss Katana, and I love it. Awesome. Really fucking
I got
good.
one sitting back
That's
here too.
a combo to have, yeah. Boss Katana, I was like, this is the fucking, that's simple, does loads of stuff that old amps couldn't do really well. Like it's got the built-in stuff, you can customize it and it's not overcomplicated. And then in the workshop, I've got a Kemper going into like a Mesa 4x12 with a Matrix power amp, and yeah, I usually, when it comes to distortion, I usually run this like Engel Invader profile I like.
Hell yeah. I didn't really know what to expect from you as far as like amps and stuff. I was like, I can't tell if he'd be like a too purist kind of guy, or if you're.
I love I had a dual rectifier for about 12 years until the Kemper came out. I was like, this does one thing, and the Kemper does so many things so fucking close that really, especially in that room, I sort of, part of me wishes I hadn't sold the dual rectifier, but I think only because it's such a cool amp and I had it for so long, I probably would have just been too lazy to not just turn the Kemper on instead of waiting for the tubes to warm up on the Mesa. But yeah, with amps, uh, as long as it gives a distortion, like a high gain, low noise solution, distortion, and is simple, I think that's ideal. But I just want my amp in my living room, you know, so you can it's always there.
Yeah.
Love my thrashy little combo.
Hell yeah. I reminds me back to whenever I was I had like one of the little 15-watt Fender, like 1x8 110 combos, whatever it was, like the little shit ones. And when I got a Digitech Metal Master distortion pedal to run through the front of it into the clean channel, and I was like, oh, this is it. Like I thought I hit the pinnacle. I'm like, oh, this was the only thing keeping me from sounding like all of my favorite guitar players. I'm there now.
Some some of the cool digital, like cheesy digital pedals in the early 90s, fucking awesome. Wish I still had them. Ibanez Sound Tank and the Ibanez Thrash Metal pedal, they were savage little distortion pedals. Ibanez Sound Tank, Thrash Metal.
I had a Sound Tank
but yeah,
Tube Screamer, like it's probably sitting around in a box somewhere. Like,
yeah. I'm trying to think what I had. In about 2000, I had one of those Zoom multi-effects foot
yeah.
units that had loads of like stuff in it. I used to love that, but it sounded shit to everyone else. It was so muddy, like you really could. It was like it was just so cool. It just wasn't. It wasn't advanced enough to digitally recreate to model a guitar sound that sounded. It just sounded like a sort of wall of muddy noise. But because you were playing it, you knew what you were playing. It's just shit for everyone else. But I did get rid of that. Yeah, massive gain, low noise, dry, brutal distortion. And if you want to if you want to go far out, just a bit of delay. I'm not into like loads of effects, but only I love hearing effects. I just personally don't get that experimental with them. And I think it's mainly because I'd rather get completely fucking good at playing the guitar before I got good at using massive amounts of effects. And like, I think I'll probably like still be frustrated with my guitar playing on the day I die. So yeah, I'm not really massively into effects, but I love hearing it great.
I can totally relate to that. I don't get as inspired by weird effects as I do just a really good dry rhythm sound. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, and we're used to hearing just riffs, you know, like, you know, Muhammad, when he was writing, you know, the fucking most awesome death metal records ever for Necrophase, he didn't have a phaser on for 7. You know what I mean? He didn't get ambient.
There's still a lot of mystery as to how that album sounds the way it does.
Yeah.
I remember hearing a rumor in like 2007 that every single note was recorded separately. Just like stupid dipshit stuff like that. Obviously that's completely impossible. It's just not. But
I've heard some people do that.
Yeah, like,
I don't know.
I wouldn't sound like First of all, I saw him play those songs on the tour he did, and there's no point in recording every note singularly. And it wouldn't sound like music anyway; it sound weird. The cadence will all be fucked. Like, and you know, he could play like that. It's just he was just excellent at recording his own music.
Absolutely. Well, man, I think we're kind of nearing the end here. I want to.
I really enjoyed having.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, man.
I say I really enjoyed. It's the first time I've done something like this. I've dropped in for like 10 minutes on like Rob's live streams a little bit, but I've never done something like this. But I really enjoyed it, and I think it's good for people who are interested in Daemoness because I've always been a phenomenally misunderstood creative person, and I don't have a platform to really explain myself because I'm not in the guitar mags because I just don't need to advertise and don't want to play their game. Like guitar mags are just huge. They're just like the ad. They're just adverts you have to pay £5 to receive. That's all they are. It's just stupid. I used to think they had some sort of credibility until they tried to sell me advertising like 12 years ago. And I said, not really interested. They just completely lost interest in anything to do with me. And it's like, oh, I get it now. You're just an entirely commercial entity that just basically, whoever pays you the most, you say their gear is the best. Completely pointless.
Which, I mean, a lot of gear review channels on YouTube are pretty much the same racket.
So yeah, it's one of the things that capitalism doesn't do very well is like criticizing new products. And just that. And then I know I'm a bigger sort of like entity within metal than a lot of bands in the UK. But I've never been interviewed by the British music press who do a hell of a lot of work in metal and sort of like this and that and sort of speaking to people and making projects and stuff like this. But I'm hugely critical of the music press in metal in England because again, it's just a complete shit show. It's embarrassing. Like the quality of journalism supposedly that I've watched since about 1992 with like things like Kerrang and Metal Hammer. It's just like a combination of sort of smash hits times neighbours, and it's about shit bands. It's just like, and I said quite several times, it's like, these guys fucking suck. Just fucking go away and do something else. Like, you're not contributing anything. So I'm not going to get interviewed by them. But I like it. I like the fact that I'm uncompromising and I make my own decisions and think for myself and don't rely on anyone else to like, you know, push me in a direction. And yeah, I'm sort of happy that they are sort of like don't want anything to do with me because they know I'll just end up being really problematic for them. I'm an against person.
An against person. That's the best way to sum it up. And I love it. And I appreciate you. I know you don't really do this kind of stuff too often. Somebody told me that they didn't think that I would be able to get you on the show or that you would want to do this. So I'm really grateful that you have, just...
I haven't been asked to do something in about 4 years.
What is it?
I haven't been asked to do some of this in about 4 years.
I would say I never really see you step out into the spotlight too much. You kind of let your work speak more for itself. But I'm
I used to talk quite a lot on the internet, and then I realised that the fucking internet is just such a pile of crud when it comes to actually any decent conversation going on. That writing on the internet and putting your opinion out on it is the same as writing for a tabloid journal, like writing for a tabloid newspaper, like tomorrow's fish wrap, like fish and shit. And if you want to make a difference, just like forget about saying stuff. Saying stuff doesn't mean anything on the internet. It's just a huge homogenous pile of conflicting arguments, squabbles, garbage, miscommunications, mistrust. It's just dog shit. If you want to actually make a change, just do something objective. Do something that's an actual thing. Don't bother with anything else. I put stuff out on social media, but only really to make people think and tell them where I'm at with my guitars and put out some cool artwork and guitars and what bands I'm working with. But that's like, way better than just forums. Forums are useful for some things. They're useful for talking about gear and comparing some stuff and things like that. But I remember even like 8 years ago, I'm looking at the forums and going like, these conversations are garbage. Like this doesn't add up. Like no one who's an actual intellectual who is looking for like a sort of strain of conversation actually leading to a product or like a debate product at the end would look at what's going on in the forums and say, is anything happening here? It just seems to be a series of like platforms, and I've got the talking stick, and they're not really getting anywhere apart from experiencing the novelty of someone being interested in something they've got to say, which is sad because they shouldn't have that. People should usually just find a community of real people who are interested in what they've got to say. But the reason I've got a big problem with the forums is because I found out a couple of years ago that the moderators and essentially editing the conversations in a way that makes the forum most like they basically they're making the conversations more incendiary, and they're guiding the conversations in a way that's more problematic and sort of like what's a good way of explaining this? They're essentially, the moderators are creating drama because it makes people come back to the forum to see how the drama's developing, and that means they can get more advertising. It's just another way in which like, the capitalist model just doesn't really work properly in many situations. It works really well in lots of situations, but there's lots where it just doesn't work, and forums is one. Once you've got moderators who are quietly, silently deleting, blocking people, taking down posts to lead, so it looks like what's going on in the forum is the way they want it to look for maximum interest in the forum. It's divorced from reality. It leaves objective what's going on, and it becomes just a worthless exercise. And especially when you get people on forums who seem to be massively obsessed about what other people think about certain things. Again, it's like Neighbours. It's like the Granada television series from Australia called Neighbours. Like, people just interested in what the few people around them think about something. I couldn't give a flying fuck about that. Although I could give a fuck about Annalise. Yeah, that. I think we'll end on that one.
All right. Which I'll just add, my main experience with forums has always just been, people regurgitating stuff that they've read on other forums or from other people online that they don't actually know themselves. So I learned to steer clear a long time ago.
I don't blame the people on it. I think they're just doing their thing on it. And like some people just like to just, talk about stuff. I don't want to sound like a cunt. I usually do anyway. Just sound like stuff. They just like stuff that I think is petty.
Yeah.
But the big problem forums is moderators guiding the conversation in the way that is most beneficial to them running the forum as a business. That's the big problem. That's why I don't go. I haven't been on them for 7 years. So worked out, I was like, this is shit. This is wasting my time. Waste of everyone's time. Unless you want to just like, obviously forums are places you can talk. There's going to be many times where they're useful and like people are discussing something that has it's like a product. There's like someone got wiser or made a better decision after going on the forum. But other things forums are completely beyond the pale. Just nah. But anyway.
Well, I'm glad that you decided to grace us with your presence today, man, because you've got a ton of fans on here. And
I'm not.
Huh?
I'm not that great.
But you've got a shit ton of fans on here, and I'm.
I think next time. Am I lagging? I don't know.
Yeah.
If we do this again, I think we'll talk more about guitar stuff, and I'll get it so I can be in the room with the guitar to talk about and get some guitar stuff down and things. I just had to move around the building to get right Wi-Fi. That's all right.
Sure, sounds great, man. If you wouldn't care, I'd like to end this on a note that I end all these with, and that's simply basically naming a top 4 for your death metal.
Top 4. What albums, bands, songs, guitarists?
Normally, I say top 4 death metal bands. If you have to narrow it down to specific albums, then so be it. But
Death. I'll get Centurion in there.
sweet.
I'm not going to put Vitriol in there because Kyle's already gassed up enough on his fucking tour at the moment. I'm going to put Morbid in there. Because Blessed Are the Sick is my favourite death metal song. That's my favourite death metal song. That's the best death metal song. Where am I going to go? I'm going to go wild card. I might go a wild card. I listen to a lot of death metal.
It's always the fourth one.
I'm going to go early Decapitated. I'm going to go Winds of Creation and Nihility.
Fuck yeah. Awesome.
The rest of it. After, the Decapitated albums are 11 out of 10 death metal albums.
I agree wholeheartedly.
And then there's Chuck's Trail. Always be the fucking best. There was one other man. There was one other man who could have rivaled Chuck in death metal, but he's too flawed and he can't do it. And it's Trey. And I'm always a bit sad that Trey didn't work out the way I wanted him to work out when I first heard him in 1995. He's the only other man who was out there as far as Chuck was. But he's too unstable and he can't focus his art enough. And it's a shame. But I love Trey, he's always been fucking absolutely, he's just a legend. But it's just a shame that it didn't work out great. But yeah, there you go. Morbid, Death, Centurion.
And early Decapitated.
I was gonna go wild card and go just throw a band out there that's savage that no one ever really gives proper respect to. Illogicist, the Italian death metal band Illogicist. They're fucking awesome.
You have to send me them or something here in the messages. I don't know them.
Yeah, I think that. Yeah, I think the album's called The Insight Eye. It's a bit old album now. I listen to that all the time. Really, really good.
Oh yeah, I want to check it out now.
Anyway, also, has anyone? I was looking at the comments. Did Lorraine know this? I better check my DMs. I only fucking did this, mate. They fucking get you guys fucking blew up Lorraine Kelly's fucking mobile. Lorraine. I want a fucking phone going to beep 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 beep, and I'll be like,
fuck yeah. Well,
I did for you. I did it. I'm right. I'm the man for you, Lorraine. I'm a big head, dude.
Right. Okay, let's wind this up.
All right, man.
But yeah, I'll do this again anytime.
Absolutely. We'll maybe we'll get Kyle on here.
I'd love that'd be great. Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
And
Dylan, thank you so much.
Really cool stuff. I'm making a lot of changes, and yeah, I'm excited.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, man. Thank everybody for bearing with us through technical difficulties. Thank you all for tuning in.
Thank you to Death Merch for again tagging Lorraine Kelly. I'm going to get on that show. I do the fucking Brit for sure, then, mate. All right. Cut.
See you, bud.
Cut this. This is. Cut.
See you, man.